वेदांत नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे श्री चैतन्य मनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वापदान्तिकम् वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगना रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेशा गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यस्य कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। सर्वशास्त्रादि पीयूष सर्ववैदिक सत्फल सर्वसिद्धांत रत्नाध्य सर्वलौकिक दृक्प्रद सर्वभागवत प्राण श्रीमद्भागवतो प्रभु कलिदंतो तितादित्य श्रीकृष्ण परिवर्तिता परमानंद पाठाय प्रेम वर्ष अक्षराय ते सर्वद सर्वसेवाय श्रीकृष्णाय नमोस्तुते मद एक बंधु मद संगीन मद गुरुन मद महादन मद निस्तारक मन भाग्य मद आनंद नमोस्तुते असाधु साधु तादाइन अति नीचोतता करा हा ना मुंचा कदाचिन्माम प्रेम न हृत कंठयो स्फुरः नारायण नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये श्रीमतां स्वकथा कृष्ण पुण्य श्रवण कीर्तनम हृदयन्तस्व अभद्राणि विदुनोति सूरिसतां नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। So welcome, thank you all for joining. So today we are going to start with chapter number 26 from the third canto, chapter title Fundamental Principles of Material Nature. Right? So So in the previous chapter, in chapter number 25, we have seen that how Devavati has asked about that, has actually made the point that, she is overcome with all these agitation of the senses, and she is looking for a way that she can actually overcome that agitation of the senses, the distress caused by agitation of all the senses. And then we see that in relation to that, Kapil Dev actually has explained about Adhyatmic Yoga, and he's talked about like through that Adhyatmic Yoga, one's mind becomes purified, our mind becomes liberated. And how is that achieved? Through devotional service, right? Through devotional service. And then we read, and what is the source? What is the cause of devotional service? How can one get bhakti? The only way one get bhakti by what? How can one get bhakti?
Mercy of a pure soul.
By
And
mercy.
someone who has bhakti can give bhakti.
Bhakti sanjayate bhakta. So that is in the 11th canto, this verse is there. Bhakti sanjayate bhakta. Bhakti can come only from a bhakta, right? Only from a devotee one can receive bhakti. Krishna does not easily give bhakti. Right? Very rare cases, but normally Krishna does not give bhakti. It's only a devotee gives bhakti. So how can we get bhakti? We have to associate with devotees. The whole point of the previous chapter is Kapila Deva saying, devotee, seek the association of devotees. Seek the association of devotees. And further, he says, okay, what kind of devotee should I seek association with? And then Kapila Dev talked about the secondary characteristics and the primary characteristics. What is the secondary characteristics? Titikshava, Karunika, Surida, Sarvadehinam, right? And what is the primary characteristics? Mai Anyanyena Bhavena, right? When you have that unmotivated, the pure devotion, so bhakti kurvanti yedridam, matkrite twakta karmanas twakta swajana bandhana. That kind of devotion service, which is actually Ananya, exclusive devotional service to a Supreme Personality of God without any deviation, with the Dradam, which is actually firm, that kind of devotional service, who has is actually a pure devotee, and one should seek association of that. And then we read the famous verse, Satam Prasangam Mama Virya Samnido, that the whole journey is actually by the association. We need to seek Satam. Satam is devotee, Prasanga. Prasanga. So Sangha and Prasanga. That kind of association, and the association, what we should do? Mama Virya Samnido, we have to hear about Krishna. And that hearing is actually a Oshadi. Oh, sorry. Rasayana. Yes, Oshadi is that another verse of medicine, but here it talks about Rasayana. In Ayurveda, we talk of Rasayana. It is the ear and the heart is a tonic, and that is the way one progresses all the way from Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha, Bhajan Kriya, Anartha Nivritti, Nishtha, Ruchi, Ashakti, Bhav, Prem. Everything is through Sadhu Sangha. And then Devoti asked this question that, okay, she's satisfied with this answer. But then further, she actually makes a point that what kind of bhakti should I perform by which I can very quickly attain your lotus feet, right? So, what's the answer to this question? Last
Free
class.
from three gunas, above, beyond three.
Okay, that's
Bhakti which is free from the three gunas.
true. Okay, further, what else was the last class? This was a discussion on how we went into a detail of, it is a little complicated about nectar of devotion and the later chapters of Nectar of Devotion. So, what is that one quality of bhakti? Yes, certainly free from three gunas. But what is that one quality of bhakti that has been stressed by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur that Kapila Dev is actually making here?
Humility.
Okay. So we read that how bhakti should be free from the three gunas. Bhakti should be free from what's it?
Sorry, Prabhu, I was just saying spontaneous and natural bhakti. That's what.
Spontaneous. That's the key word. Spontaneity, that natural, where the senses are naturally attracted to service of the Supreme Personality. That spontaneous bhakti is actually the one that Kapila Dev is actually talking about. And we talked about how one can attain bhav either through Vaidhi bhakti or through Raganuga bhakti, right? So that was the key point that one needs to come to the stage of spontaneity, either through Vaidhi or Raganuga. And then we talked about through Vaidhi Bhakti, how does that come? One normally reaches the stage of Shanta, right? But the Shanta? Yes. And then, but through Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti, then one reaches a stage of, then it can be like, Sakhya, Madhurya, Vatsalya, all those are achieved through that. Okay? And in that way, the spontaneity was the key point. And that's the kind of devotion. So, hence, in the last verse, Kapila Deva, of the previous chapter, he concludes by saying, Etavan eva lokesmin pumsam nishreya sodaya tivrena bhakti yogena manomaya arpitam stiram. So, Etavan eka, the greatest benefit can be achieved only by that intense bhakti, which is in that intense bhakti, one is offering one's mind, mano maya arpitam sthidam, right? So our mind is completely offered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead in that mood of intense bhakti, and that is the highest nishraya. Nishraya means the highest benefit for the living entity. The highest situation of every living entity is to be situated in this intense bhakti. So we have discussed Kapil Dev one way has explained that aspect of bhakti, but also in the previous chapter, not only Devhuti asked about bhakti, how Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains, she's also asked about jnana, right, and yoga, mystic yoga, right? So what is jnana yoga or Sankhya yoga? Kapila Dev is known for what? For Sankhya yoga, right? He's the propounder of Sankhya yoga. And Prabhupada always like in that book, we have a separate book on teachings of Lord Kapila, a compilation of his lectures. So in that, just in the book cover, Prabhupada says what? Kapila Dev, the son of Devahuti, right? And he's a propounder of the Sankhya philosophy. So what is Sankhya philosophy? So that is basically, will be discussed in today's chapter number 26. So this entire chapter is dealing with Sankhya. So if someone wants to know, okay, what is Sankhya philosophy? This is the chapter, which explains Sankhya philosophy. This chapter is actually, if you see, compared to other chapters, there are like 72 verses in this chapter. It's a big chapter, but in between we'll see that section. I think this is a favorite section of everyone, where we'll talk of Pradhan and Mahatattva. But it's interesting, I mean, like, at least you'll see, like, this first part is like so nicely explained that what is Sankhya. So we'll see Kapil Dev first talks about the benefits of hearing Sankhya. Then he talks about what is the basis of Sankhya. Basis of Sankhya is to understand, first of all, who is Lord. How does the Lord, okay, in this flow, if you see, yeah, who is the Lord? How does the Jiva interact with the Lord and with the Prakriti? And how does the Lord interact with Prakriti? So, there are three aspects: Prakriti, Purusha, Prakriti, and Jiva. Right, these three. What is the interaction between these three elements? That we need to understand, and that is the basis of uh, Sankhya. So that is the first entire section. We'll be talking of interaction between Jiva, Prakriti, and Purusha. Right? And then after that interaction, we'll see further that we'll be reading about when we talk of the interaction of the Lord Purusha with Prakriti. That's when the entire aspect of creation comes. How does Purusha interact with Prakriti? What was the main aspect? One way we say Purusha would never come in contact with Prakriti, right? But how does Purusha interact with Prakriti?
His glance.
His glance, right? His glance. Maya Dakshina, Adhyaksha, that glance, through the glance is right. And because of the glance, what happens? That's what we are going to read, right, in detail. How Pradhan gets, agitated in Mahatattva and what are the aspects of Mahatattva. And so that is a major part of this is actually that explaining that chart which we have discussed in 2.5 and then 3.5. And then towards the end, it actually talks of Karya Shakti and how the Devatas, and then we come to our most favorite section of discussing the Virat Rupa. So we'll again come to the various limbs of the Virat Rupa, which we have discussed so many times in Bhagavatam. Again and again we are discussing. So again we'll discuss that. And then we'll conclude this chapter with how the different Devatas, they actually wake up this Virat Purusha. Right? And then what happens further. Okay, so that's the overview of the chapter. So everyone okay with the flow of the Bhagavatam to this point? And okay, so let's start text number 1.
श्रीभगवानुवाच तथा ते सम्प्रवक्ष्यामि तवानां लक्षणं पृथक् यद्विदित्वा विमुच्येत पुरुषा प्रकृतिर्गुणैः.
The personality of Godhead, Kapila continued, My dear mother, now I shall describe unto you the different categories of the Absolute Truth, knowing which any person can be released from the influence of the modes of material nature. Hare Krishna.
Mhm. Okay, so the main point is the first, second, and the first two verses is basically talking of the benefits of actually understanding Sankhya philosophy. So if you see in the first verse, Sri Bhagavan Vacha, Kapil Dev is actually saying, Atha te pravakshami. So now I will tell you. So you asked a question about Gyan, right? Why does Devotee want to know about Gyan? I mean, she already said, I'm satisfied with the answer of Bhakti.
GAM normally provides the fundamental, like the basis for developing faith or devotion, or I think it's a sense the stepping stone.
Mhm. So that's a good point. See, now when we talk of Gyan, so one is the aspect of Gyan that is important for us to take a bhakti, right? Where we actually understand some aspect of Sankhya. And we may not go into the details of Sankhya, the Gyan Yoga, but at least like what was Krishna's first teaching to Arjuna? We are not this body. And you see in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna talks of that, and there's verses like 2.11 all the way to 2.30, just talks of how we are not this body. But then after that, he says, what? 237 of Bhagavad Gita, what does he say? He says, I have explained to you this knowledge in terms of Sankhya. Now I will explain in terms of working in the mood of devotion, right? So that verse is clearly differentiating that aspect of Gyan and to work with devotion. So when we talk of Gyan Yoga in this chapter, it is the different from the path of bhakti, because bhakti, that knowledge is just a fundamental knowledge, and we say, okay, let me work towards that. Let me work without attachment. I'm not this body, okay, I'll work without attachment. Now, the Gyan Yoga is to understand in depth this process of how we are not this body. So so one way bhakti yoga is one part, and the Jnana Yoga is another path. It's not like the path of bhakti that we are talking about. It's another path where it is a lot what we'll discuss in this chapter. Right? So actually, we read the point I was referring to, that Devotee asked this question, and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur actually makes the point that the inquisitive person knows his own idea, right? So Devotee knows about bhakti, but an intelligent person should also know others' ideas as well. You know, what is Gyan? What is yoga? What are they doing? And can one achieve perfection in Gyan and yoga without bhakti? No. So we'll see that aspect also, how Gyan and yoga, that and when I'm talking Gyan, I'm not just talking of just knowledge which is required for devotional service. I'm talking of the process of Gyan yoga or Sankhya yoga, which is this chapter, right? So these two processes, even mystic yoga process, is actually dependent on bhakti to attain success. So when we actually understand these aspects, then our faith in bhakti actually increases, because we understand that everything else, bhakti has to be there for them to attain perfection. And also, when we do bhakti, we are already attaining the perfection that can be attained through Jnana Yoga, through mystic yoga, everything. Right? So, those points we need to remember. So, here in text 1, Kapila Dev is saying, I'm going to explain to you. And Lakshanam. Lakshanam means, Lakshanam, we hear this word before also. Like it comes in few places. Lakshanam means the characteristics or the features. So I will describe to you Lakshanam of Tattvanam, categories of the absolute truth. Prithak, one by one, I will explain these categories of the absolute truth. And it's important to see this word categories of the absolute truth, because throughout the chapter, when we read about the different aspects of Pradhan, Mahatattva, time, all those, they are all categories of the absolute truth. They are all related to the absolute truth. They are different categories. And then what is the benefit of knowing this? Right? What is the benefit? So here he says, vimuchyate, one can be released. Any person, right? Anyone can be released from Purusha Prakrite Gunahi. So that person can be released from Gunaha, the three modes of material nature. Right? Do we want to get freedom from the three modes of material nature? I mean, one may think that if I am free from the three modes of material nature, how will I function in this world? Isn't it? Because right now, the way we are working is the gunas act upon us, and then more of goodness acts upon us, then we live in that mode, or raja or tama acts upon us, and then we go. Like recently, someone asked this question that if I come to a level of goodness, how will I even function in this world? Because don't I need passion to even live in this world? Right? Like if you don't have rajaha, can you function in this world? Yes or no? Let's see who wants to give the answer.
Prabhuji, just a thought like maybe we should not be controlled by them.
Okay.
At least we need to be aware of.
Right. So see, the point is, yes, we are all controlled by the three modes of material nature. And why do we want to desire to be like free from these three modes? Because these three modes are almost, we say, guna is what? Like a rope. Imagine being tied by ropes. Even that rope is made of gold. Is it comfortable to be tied? The jiva, when it's tied by these three ropes, is like kind of wants to break free. It's like, I don't want to be tied by these ropes. Imagine like, okay, we are going to tie you. One is a rope made of, like a regular rope, and a nylon rope. One is a rope made of maybe gold, or it's like three different ropes. Whenever we are tied, the jiva is like so uncomfortable that he wants to break free. And here is saying, by this knowledge, one can actually be released from the gunas. So going back to my question, can you still function in this world? Yes, you would function. You will act, but how will you act? Not controlled by the modes, but controlled by the will of Krishna. Your motivation to work is no longer because I am forced to work because of my conditioning with so and so guna. Your motivation to work is to give pleasure to Krishna. And that is bhakti, which is actually above the three modes. Right? So here is saying just by knowing this knowledge, one can be released from the three modes of material nature. Now, Prabhupada in purport, very interesting how Prabhupada starts the purport and says, how can we understand Krishna? Bhaktya mam abhijanati yaman yashasmi tattva. Only through bhakti can one understand Krishna. But understanding Krishna means what? Means understanding all the energies of Krishna, right? So, if someone says, okay, we want to study the sun, can you study the sun without studying the sunshine? No, I mean, this is the energy of the sun, right? So similarly, this understanding of Krishna means the understanding of the energies of Krishna, right? So Prabhupada says in Chaitanya Charitamrita, this has been explained, that to understand Krishna means to understand his personal form, Shamsundar Krishna, his internal energy, his external energy, his expansions, his incarnations. Right? Anyone knows this shloka? In Chaitanya Charitamrita, Prabhupada says to understand Krishna means to understand his energy, internal energy, external energy, his incarnations and expansion. Actually, I was looking on, like I was searching for this, like which shloka is Prabhupada referring to? So I'm not exactly sure what shloka Prabhupada is actually referring to here, but I'll give you a few references where this concept is actually spoken of. So CC Madhya 22.7, right? Where there it says Krishna, right? Although he is one, he maintains different personal expansions and energies for his pastime. And then the other shloka is Adi Lila 296, and then Madhya 2149. So Madhya 2149 says the transcendent form of Krishna is unlimited and also has unlimited opulence. He possesses internal energy, external energy, marginal potency. So I'm not exactly sure which verse Prabhupada is referring to, but these are few references. But the main point is that to understand Krishna means to understand his energies, right? Energies, incarnations. And okay. So now when we have said that understanding Krishna means to understand his energy, now what is Sankhya philosophy? Sankhya philosophy is the analytical study of one way devotional service, yes, but is it basically focusing on understanding the energies of the Lord? right? So that is the whole point that Prabhupada is saying that. Yes, he started the purport by saying Krishna can be understood only through devotional service, but then he proceeds and says understanding Krishna means understanding energy, and through Sankhya we analytically understand the energies of Krishna, right? And then further, Prabhupada said, this is especially meant for persons conditioned by this material world. Like, if someone is too much attached to the material world, then this can break that attachment to the material world and understand our real position, right? And by this study, one becomes free from the three modes of material nature, right? Right. And then towards the end of this purport, Prabhupada makes one way a scary point. He says, as long as one has even a slight desire to enjoy or lord it over material nature, there is no chance of being freed from the modes of material nature. Right? So if we want to go back home, back to Godhead, do we have to be free? We have to be free from the three modes. And here Prabhupada is making the point, even if we have the slightest desire to enjoy, I mean, that's like so scary. We have like so many desires, like we don't even know how many desires we have. But even in the heart, there's a small desire. Prabhupada, in one of the lectures, he made this point. Even if you have a small desire in the heart, then material nature is so merciful. She'll say, oh, you have that desire? Here, take a body to fulfill that desire. And it's scary. It's like, how can we come to a stage where you are 100% clear of all desire? But here Prabhupada is making the point, even if you have the slight desire to enjoy this material nature, there is no chance of being free from the modes of material nature and no chance of going back home, back to God. So what is our hope?
Hari Nam Anukirtanam. We read that Etan Nirvidhimana Nam. Ichitam. Even if someone has material desires, the constant chanting of the holy name of the Lord after the ways of samacharyas is the solution.
Yes. So that's a good verse, good reference. Like the main point when Prabhupada was talking about this, actually there's a lecture where Prabhupada says that even if you have the slightest desire, then you have to stay in this material world, you know. And then,
Dharma sarva kamova.
yeah, okay, that's another point. Yes, Tivra Bhakti is the answer.
Yeah.
So Tivra Bhakti, chanting the holy name. But in that lecture, Prabhupada makes a point. The only hope is the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. You know? Because how much we take the process of bhakti, we are chanting, we are chanting the holy name. But you know, to come to a stage where we are 100% free from material desires, I mean, we have this material body that we cannot deny. And as long as material body is there, it is, you know, we need to take care of the aspect of preservation, etc., etc. But the desire, some desire may be there that, okay, you know, I want to give some satisfaction to my senses. But the only hope is Prabhupada. And, you know, I've heard in a class where they say, like, oh, it was in that lecture that Prabhupada said, okay, if you cannot do 100%, at least do 90%. Okay, if you cannot do 90, at least 80. Then you say, okay, at least 70% you have to be free from all desire. Then I'll take you back home, back to God. So when you are saying 100% and all the desire, like, not possible. They were like, you know, kind of discouraged, like, how is it possible? 100% free. Then he said 90%, and still everyone was looking like. Then when he said 70%, they're like, okay, there is hope. You know? And then some people say this, I think, I've heard, I think His Holiness Jayaprakash Swami Maharaj says this, that after that, Prabhupada, like, he stood up and after the class, he was walking, and then he said that, don't worry, I have the entrance from the back door. You just hold on to me and I will take you through a back door. So the point is we need that 100% qualification to enter, but the mercy of a spiritual master. Prabhupada says, oh, he has dedicated his life to me. He is actually serving the mission. He's chanted 16 rounds. He's followed the four requisite principles. And even though something is there, I recommend him. And once we get recommendation, then Krishna says, you know, for sure. Like I was recently hearing in a class, he's saying like Krishna cannot uh, deny the recommendation of Prabhupada. If Prabhupada says, Krishna will be like, okay, whatever you say, you're a pure devotee. I'm controlled by your love. You know. So Prabhupada says, sure. You know. So even though we may have, but if we have the recommendation of a guru of Srila Prabhupada, then we have hope. So our hope is the mercy of the Vaishnava. Yes, you know, both the points that are made, yes, chanting the holy name, Tivra Bhakti, we have to do all that. But finally, our hope is only the mercy of the Guru, by which we can get free. We can actually, even though we may have some desire, we can go back because the Prabhupada is recommending us to Krishna. Okay.
Prabhuji, I was thinking of the example I was recently reading that only because Narad Muni had this desire that the two sons of Kuvera are freed by Krishna, that's why Krishna went there with the Ukha.
Yeah, a very nice example. Yeah, only because Narad Muni. Otherwise, Krishna is like, I want to just enjoy my Leela, But because Narad Muni said, no, Krishna will liberate you, he went and so it's all our entire process is dependent on recommendation from our Guru's recommendation from Srila Prabhupada. It's only by their mercy we can attain perfection. Okay, text 2.
Jnanam nishreyasarthaya purushasyaatmadarshanam yad ahur varnayetate hridaya granthi bhedanam.
Hare Krishna translation. Knowledge is the ultimate perfection of self-realization. I shall explain that knowledge unto you, by which the knots of attachment to the material world are cut. Hare Krishna.
So what was the first benefit in the first verse? That one will get free from the three modes of material nature. What is the second benefit that's actually being said here? Knowledge. You'll get that knowledge of, so we are reading about Jnana Yoga, Sankhya Yoga. So that knowledge, that is the ultimate perfection of realization, to receive that knowledge. And then the benefit is what? Hridaya Granthi Bhedanam. The knot in our heart will be actually broken. Right? Now, this Hridaya Granthi Bhedanam, there are actually few verses in the Bhagavatam where we talk of this knot in the heart. Yet anudhyasina yukta karma granthi nibandanam. Chindandi kovidasasya ko na kuryat katharatim. In the first canto, second chapter, text 14, we read what? Yet anudhyasina yukta karma granthi nibandanam. Same. The knot in the heart can be broken by what? Chindande kovidasasya ko na kuryat katharatim. Who will not hear the message of Krishna, because just by hearing the message of Krishna, the knot in the heart can be broken. Right? So that verse is saying that. So this Hridaya Granthi, the knot in the heart, that can be broken cut by this knowledge. So Prabhupada in the purport makes the point that this knowledge gives us the proper understanding of us as pure self, that I am Atma. In the previous chapter, what did we read? The symptom of a person whose mind is liberated. How does he see himself? When he sees himself in a mirror, what does he see? Oh, I am so handsome. I am this, I am that. No. What does he see? A person whose mind is purified, how does he see himself? That I am
Servant of the servant of the servant of Krishna.
okay. I mean, that's good, but what was the point we read in the previous chapter? The symptom of a liberated mind is he sees himself that I am a spirit soul. He does not see himself with so many different designations. He just sees that I am that spirit soul, and he says, he sees the soul. If you see text 17 of the previous, at the time the soul can see the self to be transcendental, self-effulgent, never fragmented, and minute in size. He sees himself in that way, right? He sees himself in that way. So that is the vision of one whose mind is actually purified. So the point here, Prabhupada is saying, by this knowledge, one will see oneself with the pure self, because the mind will get purified, right? Yesterday we were discussing that. Why do we compare the mind to the mirror? Because in the mirror you see yourself, right? When the mirror is dirty, you don't see yourself. You clean the mirror, like you take a hot bath, right? And then the steam all over. You look at the mirror, you cannot see yourself, right? You have to clear the mirror and then you see, oh, that's who I am. Similarly, the mind right now is covered with all these impurities. And when the mind is purified of these impurities, then we see ourselves with a clear vision. Hence, mind is compared to the mirror. So here, the knowledge will clear the mind so that we can see ourselves as our true self. And the seeing can be done by hearing from proper authorities. So that's the point, that Karma Granthi Niman Chindanti Kovadas Ko na Kuryat Katharati. Who will not hear this message of Bhagavatam? Because just by hearing, that knot in the heart, one can see himself with proper vision, right? Seeing can be done by hearing from the right vision. Okay. Then further, Prabhupada also makes the point in his purport. He quotes CC Madhya 20:108, Jivera Swarup hoy, Krishnera Nitya Das. Right? And further it says, Krishnera Tatastha Shakti, Bedha Abheda Prakash. Right? So that's the shloka 20:108. So this is the shloka where Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu spoke to Sanatana Goswami. And he says, like, what is the first thing? The Swarup of the Jiva. Jivera Swarup hoy, Krishnera Nitya Das. So this is one of the very frequently quoted verses by Srila Prabhupada in lectures. Right? So the living entity's constitutional position is that he's an eternal servant of Krishna. Right? So just by us being fixed in that position, that I am an eternal servant of Krishna, that itself means cutting the knot of attachment in our heart. Right? And Prabhupada, towards the end of the purport, he makes a point that the ultimate necessity of all human beings is what? To have the latest iPhone. It's okay. What ultimate necessity for everyone is what? And here Prabhupada makes a point. When one is freed from the false ego by the cultivation of real knowledge, he sees himself, and that is the ultimate necessity of human life. Ultimate necessity is to finally understand who I really am. But right now, because of the false ego, I am actually thinking, oh, I am this, I am that, and we are not seeing who we really are. But that's our necessity, that human form of life means that one should actually see who one really is, right? So that's the ultimate necessity. Okay. So, so if you see Bhagavad Gita also 15th chapter, text 3 and 4, where Krishna talks of the inverted banyan tree, he says what? We are all entangled by this banyan tree. Right? And he says, how do we cut it? How do we cut that attachment? Who remembers in 15th chapter what is the sword should be made of what?
Detachment.
Detachment.
Attachment, right? So he says, na rupam asya tatopalabhyate, nanto na chadir na cha sampratishta, ashwatam enam sa viruddha moolam, asanga shastrena dridena chitva. Right? Tata padam tat parimargitavyo yasmin kata na nivartanti bhuya tameva charapanya. Yeah. So, aswatam enam sa viruddha moolam, asanga shastrena. The shastra. What is shastra? The shastra should be of detachment. With detachment, we should actually cut that knot of attachment, right? And then dritena, like so with determination, we should cut it down. Okay. What is this knot made of? What is the main knot that is actually made of? When you talk the knot in the heart, what is it made of?
Aham mameti, Prabhuji.
Yes, aham mamiti, yes. So Prabhupada, when he talks about this knot, he says, this is from one of the lecture, he talks of Hridaya Granthi. And says Hridaya means heart and Granthi means knot. So I'm reading from Prabhupada lecture. Everyone's heart has a knot. And what is that knot? That knot is sex. Sex. And Prabhupada says, Pumsa Sriya Mithuni Bhavam Etam. Bhagavatam 558. This is the knot. A man wants to have a woman, and a woman wants to have a man. This they are searching after. And some way or other, if they unite, then the knot becomes tied up very strong. And then as soon as the knot is there, then what happens? Griha, Kshetra, Suta, Apta, Vritti. As soon as the man is attracted to the woman, they unite. Then Griha, oh, we need a nice house. Then Kshetra, oh, I need property, right? Suta, children, after relatives, all that knot after knot after knot after knot, right? And that's what Prabhupada says. If you want, you can make a knot tight. You make one knot, then another knot, another knot, another knot, another knot to make it secure. I mean, like, it's very practical, right? You take a thread, you tie a knot, and you tie another knot, tie another knot, tie another knot, and then you give another person. Can you undo this? I mean, it's so hard to take out all these knots. It's like, so here Prabhupada is making the point. This is the knot. And then he says, this is our position. In this material world, we are knotted in so many ways, and we are creating more knots. So we have to cut these knots. We are bound up in this material life by so many knots. Then Prabhupada says, but we, Hare Krishna people, have begun the process of cutting the knots. No one else is working on this. We are in that knotted position and we think that, oh yes, I am free. But we are all knotted. But Prabhupada says, we Hare Krishna people have begun cutting these knots. Each knot we are taking and like, okay, cut it, cut it, cut it, cut it. And that cutting will be complete when we come to our position, Jivera Swarupoy, Krishnera Nityadas. That my real position is servant of Krishna. And hence, I should act like that as a servant of Krishna. So, what does it mean to actually act as a servant of Krishna? Like practically. Okay. Speak
Serve
up.
the devotees of Krishna.
What did you say, Mata?
Serve the devotees of
Devotees.
Krishna.
No, practically, what does it mean to be a servant of Krishna? Yes, certainly servant. We can say all the limbs of bhakti. But I'm particularly looking for one aspect, which is more from the, knot. Okay, that is a knot. Now, what is the indication that we are getting free from the knot?
More attachment to Krishna.
Okay,
Following all the instructions of Krishna.
okay. All these points are good. But particularly the point I'm seeing, the want to make is, see, normally what is keeping us that knot, even the attachment to the opposite sex, is the knot of enjoying this material nature. Right? We want to enjoy. Even when we take a bhakti, that enjoyment is so like deep rooted that we are taking bhakti and we're looking for, okay, what is for prasadam today? I want to enjoy my senses. What is for the enjoying tendency is so deep rooted, and even when we come to bhakti, we look for that level of enjoyment in gratifying our senses. But at least we are taking prasadam like that. So that's a way, just by taking prasadam, we'll get free from the tendency. But my point is, what does it mean to be on the platform where we are Jiva, Swarupa, Krishna, and Nityadas? See, if you say a servant, what is the duty of a servant? Just to serve the master. Like practically, like, I mean, we don't, in India, we have like, we say, oh, we hire a servant. I mean, yeah, and so like, okay, we hire a servant. And what is a servant job? Okay, whatever the master wants, okay, I want you to do this, do this, do this. And while the servant is working, the servant is actually not looking for, okay, I am doing this, now how will I enjoy my sense? No, it's just like, okay, master wants me to do this, that's what I'm doing. So the first aspect of like being a servant of Krishna is, yes, our mind will say, okay, let me enjoy this, let me enjoy this. But you are like, no, no, my life is actually meant for service to Krishna. So that should be my main focus. Enjoying tendency is actually when I serve my master, then when the master is pleased, then I will naturally feel happy. That is the way. But if I want to enjoy separate, then that is not me being a servant. So that enjoying tendency that we have, which is so deep rooted, that has to be given up, and we have to understand that my purpose of life is not to seek enjoyment separate from Krishna. The purpose of life is to serve Krishna and please the master. And I know when the master is pleased, then I will be happy. Then I'll be happy. So I will, whatever enjoyment I'm looking for, that happiness will come naturally when I serve my master. So that is the flipping point where we give up that enjoying tendency. Okay, text 3.
Prabhuji, I have a question, doubt
Go ahead.
about detachment. So we have, like in the past, we said detachment is not actually detaching yourself from your family or from your friends, but adapting to anything that is good for Krishna consciousness, is attaching yourself to that and giving up things that are not
Mhm.
beneficial to Krishna consciousness. That is detachment.
Yes.
But then now you explained that it's all the knots. the knots for you get married, you have children, you have property, you have family members or relatives, whatever. That you're detaching yourself from that. So I'm a little bit confused there. Like, what does detachment actually mean?
See, that detachment is actually an internal aspect, internal. It's not external. Like someone may have a wife, children, property, but be completely detached. It's more a matter of internal cultivation. In the sense, like, Prabhupada gives this example, like a person who's working in a bank. Now, every day he's sitting and he's counting so much money. Now, somewhere will say he's every day, like he's taking notes of dollars and every day what he's doing. It looks like he's very attached. But actually, he knows that this does not belong to me. I am just doing my work here, but the money belongs to the bank. So, though externally that activity involves him to contact with money, or in our case, like relatives, family, etc., but internally he has that mood of detachment. He knows that, yes, I have a wife, but this is basically Krishna has sent this person in my life so that I can assist her in her spiritual journey, bring her closer to Krishna, and then even I can progress closer to Krishna. Oh, I have this property. Well, actually, Krishna is the proprietor of this property. Let me see how I can use this in Krishna's service. So the detachment is not external, it is actually internal cultivation. So that's the key point. So the knot is in our heart. So someone can live a life where he has house, property, everything, but completely one will be detached. So detachment, as you started your question, is our attachment to Krishna. So when everything is seen that okay, this I'm not the proprietor, Krishna is the proprietor, Krishna is the enjoyer, and all this is what Krishna has given me, I'm using it in Krishna's service, then you're detached. Does that help, Mate?
It does, and it seems very, very difficult because if we say, okay, let's say my husband, right? Krishna has put us together because we can proceed in devotional
Yeah.
activities together. Okay. But then we are also saying that you should not have attachment to this husband because after all, it's Krishna's, he or she is Krishna's um, um, gift or property of Krishna. But if you don't have attachment, it's similar to if you don't have attachment, faith, belief, love for Krishna, you cannot get attached to Krishna. Similarly, if we don't have love, faith, devotion to our better half or to our children or to our parents, we will not be able to have that love and affection that we should be giving. So it feels very, very difficult to keep that separation.
So the point is, like, yes, I agree to your point that if we don't have that attachment, how will we even, keep up that relationship? But here our point is that yes, we have the attachment, but that attachment is keeping Krishna in the center. We are attached to our children in the sense that yes, it is natural. A parent will have attachment to the child, but the attachment is not just limited to our physical connection. Oh yeah, this child is born for me and hence it's mine. The attachment is like, oh, Krishna has blessed me with this child. So let me actually see how the child can be educated in such a way that, brings that education brings that person close to Krishna. I mean, the point is, yes, it is natural to have that attachment, but what we are trying to do is bringing Krishna in the center of every relationship. So that word detachment that we use, it seems that, oh yeah, we are going away, we are not having a relationship. No, but bhakti is being natural in the sense that, yes, we have the attachment, but Krishna is in the center of our relationship. Our goal is to come closer to Krishna. With our children, yes, we want to come closer to Krishna. We want to serve them in such a way that brings them closer. Like Krishna becomes the center of every relationship, of everything that we do. And it is a process. It is a process, you know. So anyway, so those are a few thoughts I had. But
So
Thank you,
can I
Prabhu.
share something on this? Mataji, I mean, my personal understanding of detachment is expectations. So what we are trying to understand here is we need to take care of our families and relatives and everyone, even if they are not very Krishna conscious or are not even helping us in being Krishna conscious. But our thing is, we should not expect something from them in return. It is my service to you because, yes, you have been given to me by Krishna's mercy. And so putting Krishna in center means even if they are like, for me, I'm a daughter-in-law. How do I react to an environment where my in-laws are not Krishna conscious? That is my action without expectation. That's what is detachment means. Like I'm not really attached to them, but I'm doing my responsibilities full 100%. So that will, if we go to a relationship without quote unquote expectations, then we are detached. And at the same time, we can try to, even if they are not chanting, you do your bhajan. Bhakti is very contagious. It will attract that even if they don't want to appreciate, they will look at you. They will look at the tilak. They will look at your kanti. So I'm just giving my practical example, Mataji. The detachment is not giving up, giving, the relationships at all. Detachment is giving up the expectations from them. That you need to, my husband, you need to behave like this with me. That is enjoying tendency. That is being lording it over means. Even if that is a child or a husband or a friend or whatever relationships. That is my understanding in detachment and attachment understanding. So I don't know.
that's a good point about expectations. Yeah. Because as soon as you're expecting, you want that person to somehow satisfy you, right? Why do we have expectations? Because like, okay, what are you doing for me? Like that's the key. And then in being Krishna. That's a very good point, actually.
And if we don't have expectations, then you are peaceful. No? There is no question of anger or anything. No?
Hmm. Okay, so a lot to think about this. How can we actually spiritualize everything, our relationships, and bhakti is not an unnatural process. It's not that a mother says, "Oh, I am a devotee. I want to take care of child." Like how Prabhupada make the point here. Like for a mother, he said, "Your children are your deities. You take care of them." It's like it's natural, but Krishna in the center. Krishna in the center. So, okay, text number 3. Let's continue.
Anadir Atma Purusho Nirguna Prakrite Paraha Pratyagdhama Swayam Jyotir Vishwam Yena Samanvitam.
Hare Krishna. The translation: the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the Supreme Soul, and He has no beginning. He is transcendental to the material modes of nature and beyond the existence of this material world. He is perceivable everywhere because He is self-effulgent, and by His self-effulgent luster, the entire creation is maintained. Hare Krishna.
So we read about the benefits of reading Sankhya. So we are going to try to understand Sankhya. And one is 3 modes of material nature. We rise above the 3 modes. And second is the Hridaya Granthi in our heart, that knot in our heart will be cut. Right? Now the philosophy starts. And then we said in the starting of the class, what is the first aspect of Sankhya? To understand Purusha, to understand Prakriti, to understand Jiva, and the interactions between these 3. So first we'll start off by understanding what do we mean by Purusha? Who is Purusha? Right? So this is a verse is actually saying who is the Supreme Lord? Right? Who is Supreme Lord? So first Atma. So the word Atma here refers to he's the supreme soul. Right? So we are all soul. Our position is soul, but he is the supreme soul. He is super consciousness. And hence he pervades everything. Just like sunshine pervades everything, similarly, he being the super soul, He pervades everything. Like how in 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, what does Krishna say? That we are Kshetragya, but we are limited Kshetragya. Right? We know only about our Kshetra, about our body, also in a very limited way. Like we may have a pain in the body, but we may not know what is the cause of it. So we have some idea, but very limited. But there is another Kshetragya, knower of the Kshetra, who is Paramatma, who is seated in everyone's heart, and he knows all the Kshetras. So that aspect is a super soul or super consciousness. So he is all pervading like this sunshine, right? So that's the first point. Second point, anadihi. Anadihi means he is without beginning. So can we say that we are without beginning? As a spirit soul, yes. But in our conditioned state, because we have all these designations, we all have a beginning. And then as soon as we are born, if you see carefully on a body somewhere, there's an expiry date. Sometimes you see a product and you have to search all over, where is the expiry date? So if you see in our body, there is an expiry date. At some point, it'll get expired, right? So, but the Lord is Anadi, without beginning. There is no expiry date for the Lord, right? So, Ishvara Parama Krishna, right? So that's the point. Then third quality of Ishvara is that he is Nirgunaha. Are we Nirgunaha? No, we are actually controlled by the mode. But the Lord is beyond. He's transcendental to the three modes of material nature. Third quality. Fourth, Prakriti Paraha. We are all here in Prakriti and we are affected by the laws of Prakriti. Right? We grow old. No one wants to grow old. We grow old. We are subject to disease. We are subjected to the laws of nature, karma, akarma, good karma, bad karma. All those things keep coming. We are affected by Prakriti in the sense of like weather, demigods. All those things affect us. But is the Lord affected by all this? No, he is Paraha. Prakriti Para. He is actually beyond the influence of this entire material energy. So, fourth point. Fifth point, Pratyak Dhama. Right? That means what? He is perceivable everywhere. So Prabhupada starts the purport very interestingly. He says, the proof of the existence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is, okay, without looking at the purport, how would you complete this sentence? The proof of the existence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is
Looking at everything that's been given as created.
okay, looking at everything that's created. Yes, okay. So that's the point. So Prabhupada says the proof of the existence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is that his energies are everywhere and the energies are working according to a particular system. Like who's created all these laws? Sun rises, sun sets, weather changes, everything. Energies around us, and all those energies are not just random energies. The energies are controlled by certain laws. That means there is a controller, there is an energetic source behind the energy and the laws, who's created the laws. So there's a design and there's a designer. Right? So that is the proof of it. So Pratyak Dhama means he is actually perceivable everywhere through his energies. So that is number 5. Then 6th point, Swayam Jyotihi. He is self-effulgent. So what does Bhagavad Gita say describing the spiritual world? Na tad bhasyate suryo, na shashanko, na pavaka. That there is no need of electricity. Duke energy. There is no Duke energy in the spiritual world. Right? You don't have to pay your electricity bill. Why? Because it's all self-effulgent. The Lord is self-effulgent. So Swayam Jyoti means self-effulgent. And the Brahman that we say is the effulgence of the body of the Lord. And it's the same Brahman, if you say the sun is reflecting the light of that Brahman. Right? Sun is reflecting the light of that Brahman, which is the effulgence of the, so it is a reflection, right? It's a reflection, it's not the original Brahman. So it's a reflection. But so it's a Swayam Jyoti, he's self-effulgent. And then and the last one is Vishwam Samanvitam. And this is that one personality who maintains the entire universe. Nityo Nityanam Chetanas Chetanam Eko Yo Vidadhati Kama. Right? There is among all the living entities, there is one entity, one conscious being who maintains all the other living entities, and that person is the Lord. So how many qualities we have? 7 qualities to understand Purusha. Right? So everyone okay with this? He's a supreme soul. He's without beginning, no expiry date. He's above the modes. He's not under the influence of the energies of the material world. He is perceivable everywhere. He is self-effulgent. Like even the sunshine that we see is actually a reflection of his effulgence, and then he maintains the entire universe. Right? So Prabhupada quotes Brahma Samhita verses to explain this. And he says, Yasya Prabha Pravato Jagadanda Koti. Right? His Prabha, his effulgence, Pravata Jagadanda Koti. So in all the universe is actually the effulgence of the Lord. Right? So whose effulgence is a source of the Brahman, which is mentioned in the Upanishads. And then further, Prabhupada also quotes Ananda Chinmaya Rasa Pratibhavitabhis Tabirya Eva Nija Rupa Taya Kalabhi. Right? So both these verses are talking about how the Lord, through his energies, is all pervasive. Right? All pervasive. So internal energy, external energy. So Ananda Chinmaya Rasa Pratibhavya is talking of the internal energy. Then the Yasya Prabha Pravato is talking of his Brahman effulgence, which is actually reflection of that is maintaining all the universes. So all that is the energies of that original Purusha. Okay. Everyone with me? So once we understand who Purusha is, our goal is to understand the interaction between Purusha, Prakriti, and Jiva. So let's see what is the interaction of Purusha with this Prakriti. So what is the relationship between Purusha and Prakriti? What would you say is the relationship between Purusha and Prakriti?
Purusha is the enjoyer and Prakriti to be enjoyed.
Right? Okay, that's one point. Yeah. Yes, that's a good point.
Probably when we were reading the first canto, it was said like Maya Devi is like the wife.
Yes, wife. So husband and wife, that relationship. And we made the point there that when before the creation, the Lord looks at his concerts and you say, oh, this concert, no one is actually like, I should give attention to this because she's not being, connected with. So hence he actually connects with her, but he connects with her in such a way through her glance, only through his glance, right? So that is Purusha. So let's see what is the relationship between Purusha and Prakriti. Text 4.
Well, could we also understand like sister, right? Because Durga Devi is like, when he called Durga Devi before the appearance, he told her instructions like that, right?
Like in that Leela, we see Durga Devi appearing as a sister of Lord, right? Normally when so see, there's one aspect in terms of Tattva and one aspect in terms of Leela. So in that Leela aspect, we say, okay, she appeared like a sister of Krishna, right? But if we see the Tattva aspect, we see that she is an consort, energy of the Lord, right? That is to be enjoyed. Right? So Krishna wants to enjoy with us. So let's read this verse and that will also answer your question also. Let's do text 4.
Prabhu, it's also like how Simantini, how Mahaprabhu's lotus feet, she puts it on the head. So like marriage, right?
Yeah, marriage, yeah.
Mahaprabhu's wife.
Concert, yeah. Okay, let's see.
Text 4. Sa esha prakritim shukshmam daivim gunamayim vibhuhu yadrichayaiva pagatam abhyapadyata leelaya.
Hare
So
Krishna.
what is the key word here? Leelaya. Leela. Okay, so go ahead with it.
As his pastime, that Supreme Personality of Godhead, the greatest of the great, accepted the subtle material energy, which is invested with 3 material modes of nature and which is related with Vishnu.
Right. So as a pastime, so Purusha is connecting with Prakriti as a Leela. Right. So we mentioned the point how we read previously that the Lord saw, oh, all my concerts are there, but like this concert is not being connected with, not being enjoyed. So maybe I should enjoy with her. So as a pastime, the Lord is actually yadrichaya. That's another important word. By his own will. By his own will, he's accepting Prakriti as a pastime, right? And what is the quality of Prakriti? It is sukshma, it is subtle, right? Subtle energy. So we'll explain this more about this subtle aspect. So sukshma, and then it's also Daivi. Devi means what? It's related to Vishnu, right? It's related to Vishnu. So it is Krishna, Vishnu's own energy. She's related to Vishnu. She's a subtle energy, and Krishna accepts it as a Leela. And this energy is invested with the three modes of material nature. Okay, so Prabhupada makes the point energy emanated from the Supreme Personality of Godhead manifests in two ways. One is the emanation from the Supreme Lord as Brahma, and one is that energy covering the Lord's face, right? And then further, Prabhupada says it's just like he gives the example, like for the sun, what is the relationship between sun and a cloud? How is a cloud created? Because of the energy of the sun. If there's no sun, there is no cloud. Because the sun has to evaporate the water and then the clouds are actually formed, right? But does the cloud ever cover the sun? Can the cloud cover the sun? From our perspective, yes. We say, oh, it's a cloudy day, I cannot see the sun. But is the sun covered? Prabhupada says you take a airplane, go like 35,000 feet above, and you rise above the clouds and you see, oh, sun is not covered. It's only I am covered by the clouds, right? So this example is very nice example in the sense that the clouds are the energy of the sun and can never cover the sun, but we are actually covered by the cloud. So similarly, Maya or Prakriti is the energy of the sun, and the Prakriti covers our consciousness, but the Lord can never be covered by Prakriti. Right? So as the sun accepts a cloud, similarly the Supreme Personality, the sun says, oh, this cloud is my energy. So sun is accepting. Similarly, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, it accepts the material energy for pastimes, right? Pastime of creation, maintenance, annihilation. Okay. So Prabhupada in this purport also he quotes Bhagavatam first canto, 7th chapter. When Vyasadeva sits in meditation, what does he see? Bhakti yogena manasi samyak, what is it was? Samyak pranihite male apashat purusham purnam mayam chatat apashrayam. That he sees what he sits in meditation. He sees Krishna, but in the back of Krishna, he sees Maya. Right? As the shadow of Krishna, he sees Maya Devi. Right? So she is under the control, and then here it says Maya, who is under the control of the Lord. So the relationship between Purusha and Prakriti, is that clear? Purusha is accepting Prakriti as an aspect of Leela. The Purusha can never be covered by the Prakriti, but he is accepting it, as his own energy, as a mood to enjoy. And the way he actually connects with this is through the glance, right? Just like a sun, cloud, and Jiva. So that aspect. Okay. Text 5. So now understanding Purusha and Prakriti, now let's see what is the interaction between Jiva and Prakriti, between the person, we, and the clouds. We are covered by the clouds, right? So what is our interaction, the Jiva and Prakriti? So let's see text 5.
Gunar vichitra srijatim sarupa prakritim prajaha vilokya muhe sadhya sa iha jnana guhaya. Divided into varieties by her threefold modes, material nature creates the forms of the living entities, and the living entities, seeing this, are illusioned by the knowledge-covering feature of the illusory energy.
Jnana Guyaya. So that last two words is actually the key words here. Jnana Guyaya is the knowledge covering feature. What does the cloud do? It covers the sun from our vision. Similarly, this Prakriti, what is it doing for us? It is covering our knowledge that we don't, even though the Lord is all pervasive through his energies, we still forget that, oh, I have a relationship with Lord. I have a connection with Krishna. We forget it. And how do we forget? Because of the Jnana Guhya, the knowledge covering potency. And because of that, what happens? Mumu hai. Mumu hai. One is actually illusion or bewildered. Right? So this verse is basically saying, making the point that as soon as the jiva comes in contact with Prakriti, material nature, the jiva sees the varieties created by Prakriti and wants to enjoy that. And as soon as he sees the varieties, wants to enjoy, he forgets the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Right? He is bewildered by all those varieties. Like, oh, this is there. Oh, this is that. I want to enjoy this. I want to try this. I want to do this. I want to do this. And that's how we are actually bewildered in this world. Right? So that function is actually avidya. It is the avidya function of Prakriti that covers our knowledge. Okay. And particularly this verse also used sadhya. Sadhya means at once. At once. What at once? As soon as the jiva comes in contact with Prakriti, his bewilderment starts. Right? His bewilderment starts. And in this purport, Prabhupada talks about how our mother is Prakriti and our father is the Lord. Right? Why is our mother Prakriti? Because she is the one who's giving us the body. But who is the seed giving father? The Lord. Right? Which is that verse from Bhagavad Gita which says Krishna is the seed giving father. Aham Bij Prada Pitaha. I am the seed giving father for all the living entities. Right? And so it is the Lord who is actually okay, he's giving the seed, just like father and mother. The father plants the seed into the mother, and the mother actually gives the ingredients for the body of the child in the womb, right? The mother is providing. So similarly, it's exactly same example in the sense that it's the Lord, aham bija pradapita, the seed is coming from the Lord, but it is the Prakriti who is giving us this material body. But when she gives us this material body, at the same time, she gives us avidya potency to cover our knowledge. Right? And we see the varieties of, because there are so many different varieties of objects and different bodies, then immediately we are bewildered. Okay. So then further, Prabhupada says Supreme Personality of Godhead he accepts material nature so to exhibit pastimes for jivas who want to enjoy and lord it over material nature. So why is the Lord accepting Prakriti? Just for us. Because we want to enjoy material nature, he says, okay, I will accept her just because of his Lord's compassion for us. Right? So further Prabhupada says, why the material world is created for suffering of conditioned souls? One may say, okay, why did the Lord put me here? It's only suffering in this world. Why did the Lord put me here? Right? So then first, what is our main word? Why are we here in this material world? RRA, people remember?
Yes, Prabhu.
What is RRA?
Reform rebellious attitude.
Rectification of our rebellious attitude, RRA. So that's the same point, Professor. The Lord wants to rectify our enjoying tendency of the jiva, and hence for us, he is actually engaging in pastimes with Prakriti. Right? But actually, the Lord is the only enjoyer, and the jiva pretends to enjoy. Right? So we are not the enjoyer. We pretend as if we are the enjoyer, but we are not the enjoyer. Right? And then also Prabhupada makes a point that we jiva, though the word sadhya is used, that we are illusion at once, but actually our position is what? Nityabaddha. We are eternally conditioned. Eternal condition in the sense it is time immemorial. No one can trace out when the jiva actually became rebellious against the supremacy of the Lord. So we cannot trace out that, oh, actually it was just a start of the last lifetime that I actually turned away from Krishna and hence I'm here. I mean, we cannot trace out. Like billions and billions of years we are in this material life. So because we cannot trace out when that illusion started, when we turned away from Krishna, hence it's called Nitya Baddha. We are it's as if we are eternally conditioned jivas. Right? So eternally we are under the influence of Prakriti. Okay, so interaction of Prakriti. First, we understood what is Prakriti, right? Oh, sorry, what is Purusha. Then we understand interaction of Purusha and Prakriti. Then we understand interaction of Jiva and Prakriti. Right? So what is left in this? Purusha, Prakriti, Jiva. What is the interaction between Jiva and the Lord? Right? So and that will come to later, but right now this is our focus. This is our focus. So next verse also we'll read a little bit about the interaction between Purusha and Jiva, right? And Purusha, Jiva and Prakriti. So both of those will be explained further in the next verse. So that completes that triangle in one way. Okay, text 6.
One thing I just want to say is that when you said about Purusha is our father, Prakriti is our mother, and I was thinking like when you said when we glance at it, then we get an enjoying tendency. But if we remember that she's our mother and she's the consort of the Lord, and just like Ravana saw Sita, and instead of seeing her as, oh, she's my mother, like she's the goddess of fortune, he wanted to enjoy her, exploit her. So that's when the problem starts. When we, instead of seeing Prakriti as the consort of the Lord, we think, oh, she's mine to enjoy.
Yeah, that's a good point. That Ravan thought, oh, I can enjoy Sita. But actually, if you have understood that Sita is the consort of my Lord, I mean, I'm Ravan, but still, my Lord is finally, Lord Ramchandra is my Lord, He is eternally my Lord. So, if you understand that, then what will you do? You'll say, okay, how can I serve like Hanumanji, bring Sita and Ram together? So similarly, then becomes a concept like how can I engage Prakriti in connection to Krishna? Then you use everything in the Prakriti in relation. Okay, how can you use my car in service to Krishna? Okay, I can go to a temple, I can do this, buy groceries for Radha Golokan, all those things. Like immediately we start using Prakriti in service. So that's a nice point. So it changes our vision of how we see material nature. That's good. Thank you. Okay, text 6.
Text 6. Evam parabhidhyanena kartritvam prakrite puman karmasu kriyamaneshu gunair atmani manyate.
Hare Krishna 326:6. Because of his forgetfulness, the transcendental living entity accepts the influence of material energy as his field of activity, and thus actuated, he wrongly applies the activities to himself. Hare Krishna.
So this is exactly the point that Ratnaradhika was making. That here, what does he say? Evam, in this way, what happens? What is that in this way? Like last verse, what we said, like Jiva becomes illusion as soon as he sees the varieties in Prakriti. In this way, para abhidhyanana, by that false identification, kartritvam prakriti puran, the living entity accepts, oh, this material energy is actually my field of activity. I am here to enjoy this Prakriti, right? This is the field of my activity. It is, yeah. Then further, karmasu kriyamaneshu gunahi, while the activities are actually performed by whom? The three modes of material nature, which is Bhagavad Gita verse that actually says this, that actually the activities are performed by three modes of material nature. Famous verse.
Maya Jakshena Prakriti.
I mean, the point where the jiva thinks that, oh, actually I am the doer. But in
Prakriti Kriyamanani. Yes.
Prakriti kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvatra ahankara vimudatma kartaham iti manyate. So the same word, like kartaram, is actually appears in this verse as kartritvam, right? That he actually accepts that I am the doer, I am the enjoyer. And the 327 is saying prakriti kriyamanani, that only the spirit soul bewildered by the influence of ahankar, false ego, thinks that, oh, I am the kartaham. I am the doer. But then actually, who is the doer? Gunahi, the three modes of material nature. Right? The doer is only a spiritual bewildered by influence of false ego thinks himself the doer of activity, but in actuality, this is actually carried out by the three modes of material nature. So this is exactly the point that is made in this verse, that karmasu kriyamaneshu gunahi. Actually, the gunahi are performed by whom? Three modes. Atmani manyate. But the jiva wrongly thinks that I am the doer. I am the doer. And hence he considers this prakriti as the field of his activities.
Prabhu, I had this question all the way from my Bhakti Shastri. Then if the doer is the three modes, then why the karma reactions the jiva faces?
Yeah, because who initiates it? Who initiates the influence? It is the jiva. Because the jiva has desires to enjoy prakriti, then because jiva cannot actually enjoy prakriti, that's not the nature of jiva. But because the desire is there, Krishna sitting in the heart as Paramatma, he senses the desire and he acts upon the three modes in such a way that we act in this world. So the three modes are acting. We are not acting. All we are doing, desiring. Right? We give that example.
That is also avaratmika, right, Prabhu? I mean, under the influence of the vidya, like because being illusioned. So is that the start, right, Prabhu? Like the ultimate illusion of the jiva from that's how.
So see, the basis of our existence here is ahankar, false ego. And because of the false ego, we have desires separate from Krishna. I say, okay, I am a, strong person. Then we're like, okay, I need to develop I muscles or, like based on what we designate ourselves with, that's what we act, right? But based on what we designate that false ego, we desire accordingly. And based on desire, then the Lord actually acts upon us in such a way that we actually, and the three modes act upon us. So it is the three modes who is actually acting, but we think that we are actually the doers. What was that example? Right. So father and child, they go to the gym, right? A young boy, right? Young small child, and the child sees the father lifting all the heavy weights, right? And the child says, "What? I want to do that." Now, how can the child lift all those heavy weights? It's not possible. He'll be crushed under it. But the desire is there, and the father sees, oh, my child is right here. He wants to do it. Let me, because he has the desire and I love him so much, let me do it in such a way that he feels that he's doing it. Right? So he'll say to the child, come, sit here, right? And this is how you do it. And then he'll say, okay, this is how you hold the weights, and then you have to lift it like this, right? So he'll say, and the child will be like, okay, this is how I'm doing it. And he will like, the child is actually doing, but actually, because the child cannot lift it, the father from behind is lifting the weight, putting it down, lifting his weight, putting it down. And the child who's holding it, he thinks that, oh, see, I am doing it. I'm doing it, father. I'm doing it. I'm as strong as you. But who is doing it? The father, right? But because the child has a desire, the father, uh, acts it, makes the material nature act upon us in such a way that we think that, oh, we are the doer, right? So that is the nature, that's how the system is arranged. Because we want to feel that I am the doer. The child wants to think that I am lifting heavy weights, I am the controller, I am the enjoyer. And the father says, okay, that's what you want here. But who is doing it? The Lord. He is but the desire comes from us. Well, the example is good, right? It's like you can really.
Did you hear that before, Prabhu, or you just made it?
No, it's not mine. It's I forget who I've heard this long time back, but it's not my example. But one of these brahmacharis from Chowpatty. I mean, like they come up with all these beautiful examples. And we Chaitanya Charan Prabhu, one of these. That's a very nice example. Okay, Shri Radhimati, you have a question?
No, I was really, that example you explained it so well, Prabhu. Just Father is doing all the work and making us feel that we are doing. It's wonderful.
It's only out of false ego. We think that, oh, I am.
Yeah.
We cannot do it, right? So that is actually a very nice example in terms of, so the weights are actually basically Prakriti. It's only the father who can control Prakriti, right? But we think that, oh, we are controlling Prakriti, right? Okay, let's see. Um, Prabhupada starts the purport by saying, a diseased or a madman, he forgets who he is, and he's almost like haunted by a ghost. And that's our situation, right? That's our situation. Because we are like kind of haunted by this ghost of avidya, we forget who we really are. Therefore, we act without control and yet think that I am in control. We are acting, we don't have control over Prakriti, but we are thinking, oh, we have control over Prakriti. Um, so basically, he says the symptom of the jiva is consciousness, and consciousness cannot be killed. Under influence of material nature, condition, soul becomes absorbed in material consciousness. Hence, the consciousness needs to be purified. The desire that the jiva has, that needs to be purified. Okay, text 7.
Tad asya samshrutir bandha paratantram cha tatkritam bhavatya karturishasya sakshino nirvitatmanaha.
Material consciousness is the cause of one's conditional life, in which conditions are enforced upon the living entity by the material energy. Although the spirit soul does not do anything and is transcendental to such activities, he is thus affected by conditional life.
So this is also Devanitha Mata's question. That why are we subjected to a reaction? And this verse is actually saying, actually, the jiva is what? Shakshina. He's only the witness. He's not the doer. He's only the witness, right? But because of the misconception of the jiva that I am the doer, hence he's actually facing the bondage, repeated birth, and death. He experiences all the reactions because he thinks that I am the doer, right? Right. Okay, so Prabhupada says that, okay, so the verse is basically saying that from this misconception, asya of the jiva, samsmriti, he is subjected to what? Samsmriti, that means conditioned life, bandha paratantram, and then he becomes, so this is very nice, he becomes dependent on material happiness. Right? As conditions, then don't we become dependent on material happiness? Because we think that Prakriti is my field of activity, we are, okay, where is material happiness? We become dependent. If you are not getting material happiness, you'll be like, oh, life is so boring, I'm suffering so much, I don't have material. We become dependent on material happiness for our, we feel like, okay, I cannot live without I getting material happiness, and that is the bondage. But actually, the jiva is what? Akartuhu. First point, akartu. He is not the doer. Second point, ishasya. He is actually independent. He is transcendental to all the activities. He is what? Third point, shakshinaha. He is just witnessing. He's not the doer. He's witnessing. Like the child is witnessing the weights going up and down. And fourth is nivritta atmana. He is actually joyful by nature. He is a witnesser. He is independent. He is non-doer. He is joyful by nature. But because of the false ego, now he is subjected to samsmriti, conditioned life. Now, Prabhupada in the purport, he makes a point that Maya with, so what are we talking? Interaction of Jiva with Prakriti. Now, Prabhupada says that Mayavadi philosophers, they say the interaction of Jiva with Prakriti is the same as interaction of Ishvara with Prakriti. Is that true? Jiva interaction with Prakriti, is it the same as Ishvara interacting with Prakriti? No, right?
No problem, no.
So why is it? I mean, one may say like, it seems like the same thing, right? Like the Lord is interacting with material nature to enjoy. We are interacting with material nature to enjoy. Both are like going to enjoy. So Prabhupada makes a point that Mayavadis, they do not differentiate this. They say Jiva is also accepting all this Prakriti just to enjoy Leela. But this is that aspect of Leela. Prabhupada says this is the most dangerous interpretation because Leela means what? Leela means voluntary acceptance for enjoyment. Krishna is voluntary. Hence the word we read was Yadrichaya. He's independently or voluntary accepting material nature. But when we accept different material bodies, are we voluntary doing that? No, we are not voluntary doing that. It cannot be our Leela because we are forced to accept different bodies, and because of that, we are forced to accept so much suffering. So it cannot be Leela. It is like you just think about it. Prakriti, the Lord is enjoying Prakriti and as a pastime, as a Leela. But we are interacting with Prakriti, but we are forced to do it. So it cannot be our Leela. So we are actually captive in the hands of material energy. Whatever material energy dictates, the conditioned soul does. Can we say that, okay, next time I want to be born in the family of the richest person on earth? How can we do that? I mean, we have no choice. Like, we are just forced, based on our activities, we'll be just like, okay, that's your karma. Take birth in so and so family, so and so nation. I mean, we are forced, so we cannot say that's the Leela. And we are simply witness to the action, right? So we take birth in so and so family. What are we doing? We're simply witnessing, oh, I'm born in so and so family. And now I'm born in this parent. And the next time I'm born in a family of pigs. Now I'm born in a family of dogs. I mean, they're just witnessing. We are only the witness, right? And then Prabhupada says, why are we forced to, all this is forced upon us? Because of our offense in our eternal relationship to Krishna. Such a nice sentence, powerful sentence. Because of our offense in our relationship to Krishna, hence we are forced with all these sufferings. Material nature is forcing upon us all these things. But if the jiva simply understands that my constitutional position is to serve Krishna and he acts on this principle, then the influence of Maya immediately vanishes. So the Gyan Guya, which we read in the previous word, that covering of Maya will immediately be taken away. Right? So we are covered by the influence of Prakriti, but that Prakriti covering will be taken away when we understand. I am servant of Krishna, my duty is to serve Krishna. Okay, text number 8. We'll do one more and then we'll take a break.
Varya karana kartritve karanam prakritim viduhu bhoktritve sukadhukanam purusham prakrite param. I think we missed Raj Prabhu and Pratana Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. The cause of the conditioned soul's material body and senses, and the senses presiding deities, the demigods, is a material nature. This is understood by learned men. The feeling of happiness and distress of the soul, who is transcendental by nature, are caused by the spirit soul himself. Hare Krishna.
Okay. So now interaction of Jiva with Prakriti and Jiva with Purusha. Right? Now the Jiva, okay. So Prakriti is the cause of the Jivas. What are the first three words? Karya, Karana, Kartritva. What is Karya? The body. Karana, senses. Kartritva, demigods. Right? So all these three, what is the cause of all these three? Prakriti is the cause of all these. Right? Going to the point. Do we select which body we have? We may get the body of a cockroach. Right? And then we have senses like that cockroach. Right? And that is who is giving us all this? The Jiva and the Prakriti. So the cause of the Jiva's body is Prakriti alone. Right? The body, the senses, the demigods, that means the activity is Prakriti. But then the cause of the happiness and the distress that the Jiva experience is who? Okay, so we said the cause of the Jiva's actions, his body, his senses, is what? Prakriti, right? Okay, so just Jiva and Prakriti. What is the cause of our happiness and distress? Who is the cause of our happiness and distress?
We ourselves are the
Jiva.
cause.
Jiva.
Okay, so
Right, then,
what's it?
because of misidentifying, we're the cause of our own.
Okay. So now it is interesting that so here this verse says bhoktrite sukha dukkhanam. So that sukha and dukkha, the cause of all the sukha and dukkha is who is giving us all this? The cause is us, Purusha, but that Purusha is also Purusha. The Purusha is also that original Purusha. Why? Because do we have, like, okay, we are doing so and so karma. Okay, the cause of that karma is Prakriti. But the result of that is what? Who gives that? Krishna gives that. Right now we may fall sick, right? But we are acting in a nice way, we fall sick. Who's giving that result? Or someone is doing bad activities and he's still getting a lot of good karmic results. Who's giving that? Krishna. Right. So one way that Purusha is us Jiva, because we are actually we have those desires. So hence we are the cause of our happiness and distress. But also that Purusha is the Lord, because the Lord is giving us happiness and distress at different moments in our journey of life. Right. So both points are okay. One is interaction between Jiva and Prakriti. So the cause of our body, our senses, our actions is Prakriti. The cause of the results of our actions is Purusha. Us Purusha and the Lord Purusha. Okay. Now, if you see Bhagavad Gita also, similar verse, very similar verse to this verse. It's like there are few verses few verses in Bhagavatam which you can find like kind of exact similar. So this is one. If you see 13:21, Karya Karana Kartritve. What does this verse start with? Same. Karya Karana Kartritve. Hetu Prakriti Ruchate. The cause of this is what? Prakriti. It's exactly the same thing. Purusha Sukha Dukhana. But who is the cause of Sukha Dukh? Purusha. And then Bhoktirte Hetu Uchate. So this is exactly the same point which is there in 13:21. Nature is the cause of all material causes and effects, whereas the living entity is the cause of various sufferings and enjoyments in this world. So there in Bhagavad Gita, the Purusha is focused just on the Jiva, but here Purusha is focused on both the Lord and the Jiva. Right? Because the Lord is the bestower of the results of the actions of every Jiva. Everyone okay? Is the mind exploded with the Sankhya philosophy? So this is the basis of Sankhya. Now we go into details, but this is the foundation. Like these three aspects. Purusha, Prakriti, and Jiva, like a triangle. Right? Who is Purusha? What's the relation between Purusha and Jiva? What's the relationship between Purusha and Prakriti? What is the relationship between Jiva and Prakriti? All these things are explained in the last few verses. And this philosophy, the way we are reading right now, I mean, if you understand this philosophy, I'll say this, I'm saying that 99% of all the other philosophies which are existing will be defeated. Because people have so many, like the basis of this understanding is not clear. And Sankhya is immediately saying, this is the basis of our existence. This is who Purusha is. This is how interaction with Prakriti. Purusha is having Leela with Prakriti, but ours is not Leela. We are forced to explain. And why are we? Everything is explained. So hence this section is actually very, very powerful. Okay.
So I had a question.
Yes.
So this Samkhya means number, right? So how is it related here in this case?
The number will come. Next section will all talk about numbers. Because
Okay, all right.
when we talk of Prakriti, then this Prakriti, what is the Prakriti made of? Earth, water, fire, air, ether. So we'll be reading 24 and then 25th element, which is time. We'll come to that. Right? And what are these 24 different elements? And I'll tell you before we go into the numbers, the main concept here is, let's say someone gives you cake, a nice baked cake. Now you'll be like, wow, so tasty. You'll relish the cake. Right? Now, instead of serving cake, they'll come and they say, instead of giving the piece of cake, I will give you the ingredients. Here is some flour on your plate. Here is sugar on your plate, right? Here is this on your plate, baking soda on your plate, right? This is this on your plate. You give all the ingredients. Now, is there any attraction to that? We'll immediately be like, oh, what is this? How can I eat? How can I eat flour? How can I eat baking soda? I cannot eat this. But as soon as you put it together, it becomes that tasty. You're attracted to a cake. So the whole concept of Sankhya is we have attraction to Prakriti, and we made the point that Prakriti has all these varieties, and hence we are attracted. But if that variety is broken down to the ingredient, then we'll be like, okay, I have no attraction. I have no attraction to Prakriti. Just like, I mean, I won't tell the story again, the liquid beauty example, right? I want that story, but liquid beauty example. Like, if you see man is attracted to woman, but if someone really analyzes, I mean, it's all like blood, flesh, I mean, like, that's the whole concept of. So when Prabhupada makes a point earlier in the first verse that he says, even if we have the slightest desire, we cannot go back to God. But as soon as we analyze, our slightest desire is to enjoy this material world, but you analyze everything and you say, oh, this is only earth. It's fire, it's air, it's ether. This is this, this is. I mean, why am I attracted to this? So the concept of Sankhya is by analysis, we see, oh, it is all simply ingredients, which I have no attraction to. It is just they're combined in such a way that I feel that attraction, but actually, I am separate. So we already read in the previous verse that what we are actually just a witness. We are independent from all this. We are actually full of knowledge, full of bliss. We are separate from all this. So that conception comes through Sankhya. Is that okay? That's good. Okay, let's see any comments, questions, and then other we'll take a break.
Prabhu, this Karya, Karana, and Krititva. So this translate, it's like Karya is like actions, right? Karana is the cause. I mean, translation is saying about the body. Like I understand how the 15th, how 13th chapter Krishna describes like the Kshetra type use of words.
Yes.
So is this the same thing like the Karya Shakti, Kriya Shakti, and Jnana Shakti that we were reading? Because that's exactly
Yeah, it's kind of, we can relate because the body comes from that aspect of, Karya Shakti, Karana Shakti, Gyan Shakti, and Kriya Shakti.
I forgot. You should be remembering.
I don't know. So, okay, so we'll come to that because we'll go back to the chart, and just see what are the energies there. So basically in that, actually this is, it's a good point because when we come to energies and we'll talk of how the creation takes place, what are the different ingredients, we'll talk of how the body is produced, how the mind is produced, how the sense devatas are produced. And all their three are different energies of the Lord, right? So it is, when we talk of Jnana Shakti actually leads to the sense devatas.
Right.
Sense
That is Krititva means.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the mind and sense devatas, the Kriya Shakti leads to what? The senses, right? And then the Karya Shakti gives rise to the Tanmatras,
Right.
the body. So
Body.
that way you can relate all these 3 points that Karana, Karya, Karana, Kartitva to from where they are coming, right? To
Right.
the origin, right? But all these are actually coming from where? Like who is providing the ingredients for the child in the womb? Mother. That is Prakriti. So hence Prakriti is the cause of all these things, which will be elaborated in the next section.
Guruji, I was thinking a simple example could be that if the jiva has the desire to eat meat, the Prakriti will give the body of a tiger.
Yeah.
So that way we are the cause of our own suffering or we are the cause of our own eternal happiness. Huh? It all depends on the desire of the jiva.
Yes.
So purpose is to purify our desires. Huh?
So the desire is from our side, but who is providing the body?
Prakriti.
Right. So that's the point.
Because Prabhu, when we were reading the transformations, as it was in my presentation, because so the transformation happened from how Mahatattva, then the Sutra Tattvas, and the from their Ahankar's transformations creates the 3 energies.
Yeah.
The Kriya, Jnana, and the Karya.
Yeah. I mean, that's
So,
basically the next section. What's we're going to discuss.
okay. So that's the thing. Like, I wanted to know the origin of these is, as you said, coming from the transformations of
There's
Pradhan.
ahankar in 3 modes, and then we get all these 3 Shaktis.
Yes. Okay.
Basically, exactly the next section, that's what we're going to discuss. Okay. Any comments from any point that we discussed today? Any realizations?
What stood out to me was when you said that we're servants of Krishna, and what does it mean to be a servant of Krishna? That means that my main focus is serving him and not trying to enjoy separately from him. And then somehow that really fits so well with the Prakriti, Jiva Prakriti and analysis, how Prakriti belongs to Krishna, and I'm just meant to, reunite Prakriti with Purusha, and I'm not meant to enjoy Prakriti. And I feel like that's something that, because it's so ingrained in us to try to enjoy this world, I feel like almost every day we need to hear this philosophy to keep reminding ourselves, because I think if we skip a day where we don't do this, like hear regularly, then again we go back to, it just becomes like a natural, like you see something like, oh, I want to enjoy my tongue, I want to enjoy my this, it just becomes so naturally because you're so used to that. But like to keep reminding, okay, this is Krishna's to enjoy. I'm meant to bring it to Krishna. I'm a servant of Krishna. So
That's a very nice point. That every day actually realizing that, how we say, praner arthe diya vacha. Our life, artha, all our property, diya, our intelligence, and our words. What is all that? It's meant to serve Krishna. So if you are actually always okay, I am a servant, that means what? That everything I have should be used in service to the Lord. As soon as I think that, oh, let me watch something nice, let me eat something nice, then the focus is not so much on the mood of service. The focus is, oh, I want to enjoy this. I mean, like in our sadhaka stage, we may say, okay, I want to enjoy a nice pizza prasadam. So let me cook pizza for the Lord. But that's actually, I mean, we have to be honest where we are. But that's actually is still you. But we are like, because we are just like babies walking on the path of bhakti, Krishna says, okay. He has the desire, but since he's offering to me, okay, I will give him purification. So we get benefit. But finally it should be like, okay, what does Krishna like to eat? Let me offer him that. Like the conception has to change from the enjoying, and that enjoying tendency is so deep rooted. Like years and years of bhakti, and that enjoying tendency is still there. So deep rooted that okay, we are here and we want to enjoy. Let me enjoy. I go to a kirtan, I enjoy the kirtan. I mean, that conception has to change that, oh, let me go to kirtan because by kirtan I can glorify Krishna. That is that is the main changing point, the flipping point where we came to the point of like, it's not me, it's for Krishna's service, Krishna's pleasure. That point. Okay. Anything else?
Prabhuji, like on the same point, I was thinking the same. Like even when come to the temple, attending the kirtan, eating the prasadam, like it's all putting me in the center. How do we turn that towards Krishna?
Yeah, it's not easy. I mean, like theoretically, we understand what we need to do, but at least that enjoying tendency is not separate of Krishna. In the sense that, okay, we are enjoying, but we want to come and enjoy with devotees of Krishna. That is the aspect of Krishna there. So even that is there. So we just continue on the path of bhakti, but make sure we are not doing something which is separate or unfavorable to our bhakti, enjoying in some ways which is not favorable. You come with devotees, you have nice katha, sometimes you're just like talking and you're like laughing with devotees, having some interaction. And at a stage of bhakti, that's what is, we are enjoying devotee association. And that's fine. That's fine. But we need to understand that as we are advancing, that concept has to gradually change. But at that stage, okay, we are enjoying. That's fine because we have to be honest that that tendency is so deep rooted. We cannot just say like, okay, I'm going to go in kirtan and I'm not going to enjoy. I'm going to be like, okay, Krishna, this is only for you, only for you. Like, we cannot be artificial. Krishna actually is, said, okay, enjoy nice prasadam. Like, Krishna is so merciful. That way. But gradually we have to come that, oh, Krishna, what do we say? Sharira Vidyaja Jodindriya Taikal Jiva Phila Visagare Taramati Jivati Lobhamasam. Krishna, you are so kind. You have given us this prasadam just to conquer our sins. And then what? Premedhako Shri Chaitanya. What's it? Vidya Jodindriya Taikal Jiva Phila Visagare Taramati Jiva Lobhamaya Sudurmati Takita Katina Samsare Krishna Bara Dayamoy. Krishna Bara Dayamoy. Kori Bara Jiva Swa Prasad Anna Dhilo Bhar. Right? Senam Hitapav Radha Krishna Gunagav. So our whole thing, even honoring prasadam, what is that thing? Radha Krishna Gunagav. We are glorifying Radha Krishna. That's our serving Radha Krishna. So I mean, it will gradually come. We have to understand, at least philosophically, what should be our inner motivation, our inner consciousness, how it should transform. What is giving pleasure to Krishna? That's what I want to do. Gradually we come. And when we do some austerities in bhakti, that's when we are realizing that point. That because when we do some austerity, like say you go out in the cold weather and you're distributing books, I mean, like one way it's like so much like the body is like so cold, and like we were there, like was it last Saturday, last Saturday, and it was like so cold, and all these young boys, like young devotee kids were there, and so many devotees, so cold. Everyone will be like, "Why are you out in the cold? Just go inside," you know. But no, we know this is going to give pleasure to Srila Prabhupada. This is going to give pleasure to Krishna. We will do it. We will do it. So when we are doing that austerity to Krishna, then that point that, oh, we are doing this to give pleasure to Guru. And giving pleasure to Krishna, Guru is like, that is equivalent to giving pleasure to Krishna. Yes, sir, prasada, Bhagavad prasada. So at least that conception when we take up austerity, I will get up early in the morning. Though it is not I don't feel like happy. It's like a pain for me to get up, but it's pleasing to Guru. So hence I'm doing it. So when we do all those austerities in bhakti, then we are actually more and more realizing that why we are doing the aspect of bhakti. Our motivation is getting purified to the point that we are saying, okay, this is because it gives pleasure to Guru and Krishna. So
Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
okay, so let's take a 5 minutes break. We'll come back. We'll continue with the next question that they will ask. Okay, Devendra Mata, you have a question?
Prabhu, the feelings of happiness and distress of the soul, how can the soul experience, I mean, the feelings of happiness and distress comes in the mind, right, Prabhu?
Yeah.
So
So
mind is part
is the soul actually experiencing material happiness and distress?
No, it's the mind who perceives it.
Soul is Satchidananda, right? So it is always
Always
until
eternally happy.
so that's why the point, what they say, what are we? We are actually aloof from all this. If you see 5th chapter Bhagavad Gita, text 8 and 9, right? Krishna says, while eating, while sleeping, while evacuating, he knows that he's not doing it. It's only the senses coming in contact with the sense object, right? So soul is aloof from all this. So when we are actually experiencing happiness and distress, who is experiencing? I mean, we are soul. I mean, other than the soul, there is no conscious. It cannot, like a pencil cannot experience happiness and distress. So who
Okay.
is experiencing?
The subtle body, right? Mind, intelligence, and false ego.
So the point is, because we are identifying with the body and the body and the mind may have certain experience with the object. And because we are connecting with that, we say, oh, I am that. Like Prabhupada gives the example. Like you are sleeping. In your dream, you see a tiger chasing you. And then what happens? You are experiencing, you may be sweating in your dream and you're like so scared. But who's scared?
No.
It is because you're identifying yourself with that person in the dream, you're experiencing happiness and distress. But someone from outside may see you sleeping and like, you're sleeping. It has nothing to do with the tiger, nothing to do with that dream. But it's just a conception of the mind has created that dream. And in that dream, because we are identifying with the person, we are experiencing the happiness and distress. So the dream example that's the main example. But the person sleeping will say, oh, you have like the best bed you're sleeping on. sleep number matters. Why are you scared? No, but he's scared because of that identification.
So, Prabhu, if that is the thing, if the mind is perceiving, it's right, the mind is perceiving
Mind
it.
is perceiving,
So,
yes.
mind is perceiving, the mind is part of the senses, right? As Krishna said,
Yes, the leader of all the senses.
it's six senses, including the mind.
Yeah.
So, but then the karana, the senses, are actually the cause of the prakriti. But then, how is the
No,
purusha?
Prakriti is the cause of.
Sorry, yes, sorry, other way. But then this verse, at the end of it, it is saying that the purusha prakriti param.
Yeah.
This is done by the purusha. So,
Yeah.
so there
So
are
the-
levels of it, like purusha doing prakriti and then prakriti doing karana.
See,
Right?
the mind and the senses are given by Prakriti. That's where we are experiencing. But who is giving that experience? Who is the cause of the experience? We. Jiva
Jiva.
or the Lord. The Lord is actually giving, right? So the instrument is given by Prakriti, but the experience of the instrument is our own. Right? So we have a cell phone, made by a company. It's given to us. But now what we do with the cell phone, that experience is our own. Right? So the instrument of the body is given by Prakriti. The Prakriti is the cause, but that experience is we are the cause, or Purusha is the cause. Okay, let's take a 5-minute break before the mind explodes. Okay, thank you.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, can you explain the last point again? So the feeling of happiness and distress of the soul are caused by the spirit soul, correct?
Yes, the cause is the Purusha as a spirit soul, or the Lord, because the Lord is the one who is giving us happiness and distress at a particular moment. But the Jiva is the cause. Why? Because we are misidentifying with so and so. Like we give another example. Like, you're sitting for class, all of a sudden you hear someone's car banging, right? And then what happens? If your car is parked outside, immediately fear. Oh, new car, he hit.
My God.
If the car is not parked outside, you'll be like, okay, maybe neighbor's car is it. Isn't. Why? Because you're identifying that the car is my property. Hence, something happens to a car, it will hurt me. Just like another example, that's one example. Another example, like you're watching a movie. And you're not saying you should watch a movie, but when someone watches a movie, then because they get so absorbed in the role of the actor, if the actor gets hurt, I mean, isn't it common people watch movie and they're crying tears? I mean, like, what is your connection? Is it that you are experiencing that? No, the actor has maybe lost the actress or there's some accident, and you're feeling sad because you're connecting with that actor and saying, "Oh, I am that actor, and hence I'm experiencing." But that's just a false identity. You're watching a movie, and all of a sudden, let's say your internet stops, and the movie ends, and you wake up and like, "Oh, I mean, I was in that movie, I was just identifying myself with the actor, hence experiencing the happiness and distress. But now I just wake up and it's like, oh, actually, I'm not that person." So similarly, in spiritual consciousness, we just have to wake up. That's why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying, Jeev Jago, Gora Chandra. Wake up, wake up. You're sleeping, and in the sleep, you're identifying with this false identity. Hence, you're experiencing happiness and distress. Wake up, you're spirit soul. You have nothing to do with all this. You have connection with Krishna, chant the holy name of Krishna. Right? Is that okay?
Right. Mind is experiencing all these things.
Yeah, because of the false identity. It all comes back to the point of ahankar. That false identity is responsible for it.
Sure.
Okay, thank you so much. Let's come back in 5 minutes. Hare Krishna.
Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Okay, everyone, please come back. We'll continue. So, text number 9. Devahutir Vacha.
Devahuti uvacha prakrite purushasyapi lakshanam purushottama bruhi karanayorasya sadasachcha yad atmakam. Pratna Mataji?
Yes, Mataji. Devahuti said, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, kindly explain the characteristics of the Supreme Person and his energies, for both of these are the cause of this manifest and unmanifest creation.
Okay, so Devotee is asking further, Purusha Uttama, O Purusha Uttama, or best of the Purusha, or Supreme Personality of Godhead, Bruhi, kindly explain. Lakshanam, Lakshanam is characteristics of what? Purusha and Prakriti. So we read about the interaction between the Purusha and Prakriti, what is the relationship, but now Devotee wants to know more of how does the Lord interact with Prakriti. All right. What is the characteristics of the Lord in relationship to Prakriti? That's what she's asking for. And further, she makes a point, Karanyo Asya Sat Asat. Because both the Purusha and the Prakriti are the Karana. Karana means what? The cause. The cause of what? Sat and Asat. The manifest and the unmanifest creation. Now, what is Sat and Asat? Like in Bhagavad Gita, when in the introduction, Prabhupada says the subject matter of Bhagavad Gita is 5. And then he says one is Prakriti. And he says Prakriti is eternal or not eternal?
Eternal.
Eternal. Right? Why eternal? Though it is manifest and not manifested. So the point is, yeah. Okay, the point. Okay, good. Okay, the point is that yes, this gross material nature is manifested and creation, maintenance, annihilation. It goes on. But if you see the source of this, which is the Mahat Tattva, that is eternally present. Right? So when you talk of Sat and Asat, that gross material creation that comes into existence, stays for some time, and is annihilated, that is Asat. But what is Sat? That Mahat Tattva, which is actually a subtle energy of the Lord, that is eternally existing. So hence when Prabhupada in the introduction talks of 5 elements, he says Prakriti is eternal, because he's referring to this Mahat Tattva, which is a subtle material energy of the Lord. That is eternal. Right? So hence he said, she's asking that both this Purusha and the energies are both the cause of this Sat and Asat. So what is Sat and Asat? So Asat is the gross material creation and Sat is the subtle Mahatattva, the energy of the Lord, the material energy of the Lord. Prabhupada in his purport also explained that the Lord, Prakriti and Jiva, they have the relationship just like a husband, wife and child. So we already explained this. How the mother in the womb gives the ingredients for the body of the child, but his father is a seed-giving father. Right? So when we say that, how is the Lord actually interacting with Prakriti? He is glancing, and through the glance, he impregnates the Prakriti with what? The Jivas. Right? So he is impregnating, just like a father would impregnate a woman. So, man impregnates a woman. Similarly, the glance of the Lord is actually, he's impregnating the jivas into the material nature. Right? Hence the verse, Maya Dhakshena, through the glance of the Lord, Prakriti. Maya Dhakshena. So through my glance, Prakriti, Suyate Sacharacharam. And under that, because of the glance, the Prakriti is impregnated, and then under my direction, it actually works. Okay. Next verse, next line. So that's a question that you want to understand more about this Prakriti, Purusha, because they are the cause of Sat and Asat. Okay, text then.
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Yatta Gunam Avyaktam Nityam Sadasadatmakam Pradhanam Prakritim Prahur Avishesham Visheshavad. Yes, Prabhu. Yes, Gopinath Acharya.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, the unmanifested eternal combination of the three modes is the cause of the manifest state and is called Pradhan. It is called Prakriti when in the manifested stage of existence.
So first verse here, he's talking about Pradhan. So what are the characteristics of Pradhan? Now I feel like everyone has heard Pradhan so many times before, right? Talk of Pradhan, right? So what are the characteristics of Pradhan? So this verse is Prahu. They call this as Pradhan. First is unmanifested, avyakta. Right? So I made the point just a minute before for the previous verse that the Pradhan, the Mahatattva, is the unmanifested. Actually, the Pradhan is the unmanifested aspect because there is no manifestation at that moment. And it is Nityam, it is eternal. Right? It is eternal. It's always present. The gross material creation comes and goes, but this Pradhan is actually eternal. So first quality is Avyakta, unmanifested. Second, eternal, is Nityam. Then third is Trigunam. Trigunam means it's the aggregate of the three modes of material nature. All the modes are there. But are the modes active in Pradhan? Yes or no? No.
No.
Not yet active. It is there, but not active, right? But it is there. All the three modes are there. Triguna. Then, next point, cause of Prakriti, right? They are the cause. So even Devoti asked, like, okay, they are the cause of Prakriti. So here also it makes a point. It is a cause. It is from the Pradhan that the Prakriti is actually manifested. So the manifested stage is called Prakriti, and the unmanifested stage, Avyakta, is called Pradhan. Everyone has Subodhini? Can look at the Subodhini like Gaurang Darshan Prabhu has divided these nicely, puts a table with these 6 points. Then Sad Asad Atmakam, right? So it consists of both cause and effect, right? So it is in Pradhan that is the cause of the creation of Prakriti, and also the effect is Prakriti. So both cause and effect is actually there in Pradhan. And then finally the last one, undifferentiated yet has variety. Avishesham Visheshavat. Why? What does it mean? Undifferentiated yet possessing differentiation. That at that moment the Pradhan is what? Sum total of all material elements. And they are there. All the material elements are there. But they are not differentiated at that point. The variety is there, but they are undifferentiated. Right? It's just like I give this example. It's very crude example that the construction, like someone is starting the construction of a house, and a big, let's say a truck comes, and the entire truck has all the building materials. And when you see from outside, you're seeing the truck, but it has wood, it has stone, it has cement, it has water, it has wood, I mean, everything. Everything is inside. But as you see it, it's just sum total of everything. It's as if it's undifferentiated, but everything is there within it. So similarly, Pradhan means everything is there, but it's not separated. It's not separated. Right? So it's undifferentiated. Yes, it possesses differentiation.
Prabhu, can you mention that Sad Asad, how is it cause and effect together?
Yeah, because the
Cause is
cause of the Prakriti is what? Pradhan.
cause of the Prakriti is Pradhan.
Right? And the effect of Pradhan, like the mother is the cause of the child, and also the mother will give birth to the child. Right? So both the cause and effect is there in the child. But doesn't make the mother the only independent. She has to be impregnated by the father. But the mother is a cause because she's actually giving all the ingredients to the body, ingredients of the body of the child. And at the same time, she's the one who's giving birth. So she's the one who's the effect also. Right? So cause
So
and
both cause and effect? Both?
yeah. So yes, both cause and effect is actually pradhan, and that's why it consists of cause and effect. But that does not make pradhan independent, and that's the point, that it has to be impregnated with prakriti.
Prabhu, I have this example of this pradhan in as a blob of like how a slimy is, as a slime. In a slime, you can put glitters, sparklies. From outside, you can still see, but you cannot differentiate it. It's
Yeah,
so
all
stuck.
together.
But
So
you
it
see,
has variety, but it's not different.
all everything is there. You can see it, but you cannot differentiate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah. Okay, so now in this purport, Prabhupada actually goes and establishes, is Pradhan Brahman? Yes or no? Because Brahman is also undifferentiated. Brahman is also eternal. Can Pradhan be called Brahman? No. Why? Because we just read Pradhan has three modes of material nature. But does Brahman has three modes? No, it doesn't. Right? So hence, so Prabhupada makes a point that, in this is all saying what Pradhan is not. So first he says it's not Brahman. Because Brahman cannot have the three modes, but Pradhan has the three modes within, though they are not active. The first point. Second point, is this a Mahat Tattva? Is Pradhan Mahat Tattva? No. Why? Because in Mahat Tattva there are manifestations. But at the moment of Pradhan, there's unmanifested, everything together as a blob. Right? Now next, is Pradhan time? Is Pradhan
No.
time? No. Why? Because in time, what are there? Action is there, reaction is there. But in Pradhan, no action and reaction. It's just like a blob. Right? Is Pradhan a jiva?
No.
No. Why? And then he says the designations of the jiva, that I am this, I am that, that is not eternal. That keeps changing. But Pradhan itself is actually eternal. So Prabhupada goes through each one and says, it's not this, not this, not this, not this. He proves it. So hence Pradhan is actually beyond all this. It's different from all these. Okay, 11. Everyone still with me, or is it like, we're like, oh, why did Devoti ask this question? Couldn't she ask like something which is not so technical? But everyone okay? Understanding this point?
but Pradhan has all the jivas in there, right, bro?
Okay, so what does the Lord impregnate? Does he impregnate Pradhan or Mahatattva, or what is he impregnating?
Seeds.
Jivas, huh?
No, I mean, yes, he's impregnating jivas, but into what?
Into Pradhan. Into Pradhan.
Into Pradhan.
Into Pradhan. Yes.
So that's the point. So he's Pradhan as such is this sum total of all material natures. All right. And then the jiva is impregnated by the Lord into the Pradhan. So that comes later. We'll read in that verse. But right now, we're talking of Pradhan just as the sum total of everything together, all material energies together, but undifferentiated, eternal. Nitya. Okay, next is
as ungerminated seeds in the Pradhan.
you said the jiva are like ungerminated seeds in Pradhan?
Yeah. Can we understand like that?
See, so what happens? You have Pradhan, right?
Mm.
Right now there are no jivas. Right? No jivas. It is just the sum total. It has three modes. It is a cause and effect. What we have read in the previous verse, just to that point. We are not talking of jivas yet. Jivas will come later. Right? So this is as soon as the jivas are, the Lord glances over Pradhan, then he's impregnating the Pradhan with jivas. And because the jivas have their natures, contaminated natures, because of that, then the modes actually start working. You see? So before the jivas are pregnated, the pradhan is not active. It's just like, and that's why it's saying unmanifest. But as soon as the pregnant, like Prabhupada gives an example, the father and mother are always there. So Lord and pradhan is always there. But at some moment, the baby is born. At some moment, the baby is born. Why? As soon as the father impregnates the woman, then the thing happens. So as soon as the impregnation happens, then that pradhan, then things starts working because the jiva has those contaminant tendencies. Then the mahatattva, the modes become active. Then it actually moves from pradhan to mahatattva.
Prabhu, I think that is the same thing, same concept. How come Mat Tattva or Ahankar becomes predominated by ignorance? Because the combined total of all jivas is ignorance.
Yes, exactly. That's the point. Okay, 11. 11 is a simpler verse. So here's the numbers that come. So you see pancha, pancha, dasha, chatura, right? So in this shloka, in next shloka, you see pancha means what? 5. Chatu means 4. Dasha means 10. Right? So let's read.
Panchabhi chaturбхисташabhистатha etachchaturvimsh shaktikam ganam pradhanikam viduhu.
So what does pradhan consist of? Okay, translation.
Yeah. The aggregate elements, namely the 5 gross elements, the 5 subtle elements, the 4 internal senses, the 5 senses for gathering knowledge, and the 5 outward organs of actions are known as the pradhan.
Right. So Panchabhi, 5 gross elements. Panchabhi, 5 subtle elements. Right? Chaturbhi, 4 internal senses. So all this we are going to read what they are. Dashabhi, 10. Dasha means 10. So 10 means 5 sense gathering knowledge, knowledge gathering senses, and 5 organs of action. Tatha, in this way, Chatuhu Vimsatikam. Chatuhu means 4. Vimsatikam means 20. So 24. So these 24 elements together are known as pradhan. When all these elements are not differentiated, when they are together, that is called pradhan. Okay, next text 12. Like next few verses are like just listing the 24. Text 12. Yeah.
Mahabhutani panchaiva bhurapognirmarunabha tanmatrani tavanti gandhadini matani me.
So what are the 5 gross elements? Everyone knows, right? Translation.
There are 5 gross elements, namely earth, water, fire, air, and ether. There are also 5 subtle elements: smell, taste, color, touch, and sound.
Right. So corresponding to each of the gross element, there is a corresponding. Like for taste, you need water, right? So for smell, there is earth, right? So each corresponding to that. So earth, water, fire, ether, and then there are 5 subtle elements of smell, taste, color, touch, and sound. Okay, 13.
Indriyani dashashrotam dvagdrigrasananastikaha vakkaro charano medhram payur dashama uchyate.
The senses for acquiring knowledge and the organs for action number 10, namely the auditory sense, the sense of taste, the tactile sense, the sense of sight, the sense of smell, the active organ for speaking, the active organs for working, and those for traveling, generating, and evacuating. Hare Krishna.
So 5 are what? The knowledge acquiring is what? The sense of hearing, sense of touch, sense of sight, sense of taste, and sense of smell. This is how we get knowledge. And 5 working are what? Vak, speech, hands, karo, charano, traveling organs, legs, medra, generative organ, and then payu, evacuating organ. So that's 5 working organs. 14.
मनोबुद्धिरहङ्कारश्चित्तमित्यन्तरात्मकं चतुर्धा लक्ष्यते भेदो वृत्त्या लक्षणरूपया.
In translation, the internal subtle senses are experienced as having 4 aspects in the shape of mind, intelligence, ego, and contaminated consciousness. Distinctions between them can be made only by different functions, since they represent different characteristics.
So anta atmakam. So we said 4 internal subtle senses. What is that? Manaha, mind, buddhi, intelligence, ahankara, false ego, and then chittam, Chittam is the contaminated consciousness. So these are the four internal subtle senses. So how many have we covered till now? So we had 5 and 5, and then last verse was 10, right? So 20, and then now we have 4. Everyone still with me? At first we have 5 earth, water, air, fire, ether, then 5 subtle, right? Then 10 senses in this verse, and then in the previous verse, and now we are coming to 4. So that's 24. So manaha, mind, and then buddhi, intelligence, ahankar, false ego, chittam, contaminated consciousness, and then lakshana, rupaya. And because they are subtle, how do you differentiate between them? By their actions, by their characteristics. Like what is the characteristics of the mind? Thinking, feeling, willing. What is the characteristic of intelligence? Discrimination. So by their function, we can differentiate. Otherwise, we cannot say, where is the mind in my body? Where is the mind in the body? Some people say the mind means in the brain. It's not the brain. Intelligence, brain. No, it's not the brain. It is subtle. It is subtle. It's there. Subtle means you cannot physically kind of identify it. Okay, you can say my stomach is here, on the left side, under the ribs, there's a stomach. But you cannot say mind or intelligence. They are subtle. But you can differentiate by their functions, by their characteristics. Okay, text 15.
Now, Prabhuji, what is contaminated consciousness, Prabhuji?
Yeah, so our consciousness right now, is it pure? No, it's not pure. The consciousness itself is contaminated with the desire to enjoy Prakriti. So that is contaminated consciousness.
How does it different from mind, Prabhu?
Because the mind is the channel through which the contaminated consciousness flows through the senses. Mind is the channel. So if you want to have an illustration, you have the soul and then the pure consciousness. But the pure consciousness, as soon as it comes with what? Prakriti, it becomes contaminated. That contaminated consciousness is flowing through the channel of the mind and then coming to the senses, and that's how it interacts with the rest of the world.
Okay.
Right? So the chitta is the consciousness which is not pure, which is contaminated because of contact with Prakriti.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Does it become contaminated by the enjoying sense in contact with Prakriti? Or just in contact in any way with
So we read in that shloka, right? What is the shloka number? Number 4. Oh no, 5. Number 5. As soon as the jiva comes in contact with Prakriti, he sees variety. And as soon as that variety, that word particular was sadhya, at once, immediately the contaminated consciousness. He sees, oh, Prakriti, oh, variety, I want to enjoy. The enjoying tendency, yes. And because of this contaminated consciousness.
Because devotees may come in contact with Prakriti, but they don't get contaminated, right? Like a pure devotee.
Yeah.
Or do they not come in contact with Prakriti?
See, finally, it's all energy of the Lord. The difference is in our perception. Right? Everything is energy of the Lord. We are energy of the Lord. The body is energy of the Lord. Prakriti is energy of the Lord. Now, if someone is seeing Prakriti as the energy of the Lord and hence using it, then there is no enjoying tendency. He is using Prakriti in Krishna service. Right? So he is coming in contact. Right? He's coming in contact in the sense that he's using Prakriti in Krishna service, just like an energy. Just like you made the example of Hanuman uniting Sita and Ram together. And yeah. So your question is, just a pure devotee come in contact with Prakriti? Yeah, I mean, he is in this material world, right?
Because you said when you come in contact with Prakriti, then your consciousness becomes contaminated.
But for a jiva, that's the perception is different. He's coming in contact with Prakriti, he's aloof because he knows this is the energy of Krishna. Right? Hence, in that 5th chapter Bhagavad Gita, text 7 and 8 says that even though he's seeing, he's eating, he's sleeping, he's evacuating, but he knows what? My senses are coming in contact with Prakriti, but I am aloof from them. Right? I am aloof from them. So jiva, that's a pure devotee. He's saying that, oh, my eyes is seeing this, my tongue is touching this, but I am aloof from them. I am just, my connection is with Krishna. So he sees the senses coming in contact with Prakriti, but he realizes that he is always separate from her.
Mm.
Prabhu, also contaminated consciousness can also be like the mirror of full of dust. Like, how the reflection of the Atma, Evatmanishwari, how we see the self as the master,
Okay.
is projected on the clear mirror.
Yeah. So the mirror, when you get the mind as an example of mirror, the mirror is covered by something. What is that something? Contaminated consciousness.
Contaminated consciousness.
Right?
Yes. Garbage, dirt.
Yeah,
Dirt
the
is
dirt that covers the mirror. Right? So that's contaminated consciousness.
But so consciousness is a clean mirror, right? And the dirt is a contamination.
That is a contamination, right? So when pure consciousness is polluted by material contamination, and when identification with the body becomes prominent, one is said to be situated in the false ego. So basically, Prabhupada is saying, from pure consciousness, as soon as there's contact with material nature, material contamination. Material contamination, because of that, what is the next element? False ego.
False ego.
False ego, ahankar, right? So out of those four, so Prabhupada talks of, and then because of ahankar, then further, our intelligence is
Bewildered.
bewildered, and then our mind is.
Prabhu Haripasha Prabhu is giving a class on Sikshashtakam now. He explained in the Chetodarpana Marjanam verse that how, it's very similar to this situation is like, how contaminated consciousness comes in interaction with the Prakriti, and that is how we see a distorted image of ourselves in the mirror of our heart. It's a false ego presentation, how distortion comes through. So the jiva and the mirror are always clean. It's just that what we put on the mirror again and again, that gives a distorted image of ourselves.
So, yeah, that's a good example. Yes. Okay. Okay, so where were we? Let's do the 15. Then we'll just stop at that point. I'll explain 15 next time. Just want to mention the 25th element here.
एतावान् एव सङ्ख्यातो भ्रमणः सगुणस्यः सन्निवेशो मया प्रोक्तो य कालः पञ्चविंशकः.
Hare Krishna. All these are considered the qualified Brahman. The mixing element, which is known as time, is counted as the 25th element. Hare Krishna.
So 24 we read, Chatu Vimsakaha we read. Now here is saying Pancha Vimsakaha. 25th element. So now these 24 elements, the way they can interact is only because of time. Because as soon as there's time, there's action and reaction. And the interaction, the modes would interact with this only because of time. That is the 25th element. And why do we say qualified Brahman? So we say Brahman in the sense that everything is coming from Brahman. But there is Nirguna Brahman and Saguna Brahman. Nirguna Brahman is the pure Brahman. And when we say Saguna, with Guna, that is basically what we are reading, the 25 elements. So hence this verse is, Etavan eva Sankhyata, all these enumerated 24 elements are actually Brahman with Saguna, with material qualities. Because everything is Sarvam Kalam, Idam Brahma. Everything is Brahman. But with the material qualities, that becomes these 24 and hence 25th. And the 25th is time. Okay, so we'll stop here. We'll continue with this aspect of time. So next few verses, he'll talk about time, he'll talk about Mahatattva, then he'll talk of this Chitta or contaminated consciousness. And then after that, he'll talk about like the presiding deities of the mind, intelligence, false ego, and consciousness. And yeah. I mean, the rest of the chapter, we could go a little faster because it talks of like all these elements and how taste is the tanmatra of water, then smell is the tanmatra of earth, like all those technical aspects. And then last we end with creation of Virat Rupa. Okay. Everyone okay, or everyone overloaded with tattva?
Interesting how it keeps coming back to this topic, right? Creation, Virat Rupa.
Again and again, right? Second chapter we started off with second canto we started off with this, right? 2.5 again we talked about this. Then 3.5 again we talked about this. Now 3.26 again we are talking about this. Why again and again are we stressing on this point?
It must be pretty.
Go ahead. Karuna Purna Shakti Mata.
I just said it must be pretty important.
Okay. Shriyade Mata.
I was saying it's very fundamental. If we have this understanding, then everything else we can build on it.
Yeah. Like when we started reading in the second canto, when Parikshit Maharaj starts asking questions, what was the point that was made? Parikshit Maharaj is a pure devotee of Krishna. He should have asked, let's just start off with Krishna Leela. But no, he asked about Purusha avatar. And what was the point that was made there? That unless we understand Tattva, we cannot relish Rasa. So though one may say, oh, again and again this technical aspect is coming, but when we are reading, when we are understanding, we are preparing our consciousness to relish Rasa. If we jump to topics of Rasa without preparing Tattva, then that will be some mental stimulation. That is not experiencing spiritual Rasa. But when our Tattva actually becomes deeper and deeper, then our consciousness is prepared that we can actually relish Rasa. You know? So that's our whole point, and that's why, we are very careful, like Prabhupada was very careful, not just simply jump to topics of Rasa. If your tattva is not strong, then your rasa, you feel like, oh, so nice story, Radha and Krishna are doing this. But if your tattva is not strong, it is some just like some mental agitation. It's not spiritual. Your tattva has to be, that foundation has to be there. Without the foundation, you cannot build your house of rasa on top of it. Right? So again, we are discussing that. This is so important. We have to understand this, the interaction between Jiva, Prakriti, and also the Sankhya. What are the benefits? One gets free from the modes. So if you really understand that cake example, we say, okay, Sunday feast, today we are just going to serve ingredients. Everyone will run away. No one will come back to Sunday feast. So the point is that ingredients are not attractive. And when we read all this and we see ingredients, it's like, oh, why am I attracted to this? It is just false illusion, And that way we are actually preparing ourselves to relish the highest topics of rasa. So if you see in the 7 days, 3 days is actually speaking tattva. And then when the platform is ready, then on 3rd day, 10 canto starts. Then the rasa topics. I mean, remaining also rasa is there, but the Krishna Leela rasa starts in 3rd day onwards. Okay. Thank you all so much.
Prabhuji, I remember one point you mentioned, like, when we understand how great the Lord is, we can relish the glories of the Lord. I think.
Yeah. From the greatness, we can appreciate the sweetness.
Sweetness.
Like when we understand a person is so great, but yet he's actually personally helping me grow in my spiritual life. Then immediately the aspect of like, oh wow, he's so great. He's a lot of everything. He is like the proprietor of all material worlds and spiritual world. Yet he is actually helping me personally. Right? Yogakshema mahamyaham, aham, I am doing it. Then immediately you feel like, oh, Krishna is so compassionate. And then that feelings actually come. But if you don't understand the greatness, then that the feelings will not, like you cannot relish the other aspect of Krishna's qualities and so. Okay, let's stop here. Thank you all so much for your association. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Okay, so we'll meet next year. This is the last class of 2024.
Hello. This is
Thank
our
you so
almost
much.
year 2, right? Completing.
Was it, Mata?
It's been 2 years through the journey of Srimad Bhagavatam.
2.5 years, actually.
2.5 years.
And if you see the number of classes, like because on YouTube I write the number, this is our like 102nd class, 102. So it's like we have at least covered 300 hours of Bhakti Vaibhav. But you know, like again, our focus is not to just finish the whole thing, but you know, like if you have just rushed through this without understanding the interaction between Jiva, Prakriti, and Purusha, then what's the point? I mean, this is so important that we need to understand. So it's okay.
So it's like, how Devahuti was also, she is also a bhakta, as you said, but she was interested in knowing the jnana, Sankhya.
Yeah.
Similarly, this point must be. So do we have another iteration of the same topic ahead, Prabhu? I think this is the last time, right? Because Prithvi Maharaj does not speak of Sankhya. With Rishabh, there is little bit. Till
Yeah.
6, I don't think.
When you talk of that Atra Sarga Visarga Sthanam, actually, if you see the emphasis, the Sarga, the primary and secondary creation, they focus Canto 2, Canto 3.
Yeah.
Right? So then they focus on the other Uti and the other aspects. Sarga Visarga, so Sthanam Poshanam Uthaya, right? Sthanam Poshanam. So all those topics.
Fourth canto is like Sthanam Pro. Like that's what I have. Then
Yeah.
fifth
I mean,
is
like, the point is like our Acharya say, well, in all cantos, everything is there.
all is there. Yeah. That is Jiva
But
Goswami.
also, Jiva Goswami says that also we can divide it this way. Right? Okay, so should we stop here? Any final thoughts? I think it's 9:50. So thank you so much for your association. We'll continue next Sunday. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Vancha Kalpatarubhyasya, Kripa Namo. So, this Bhagavatam, though is technical, just keep going because we cannot understand how much we are progressing just by relishing Bhagavatam. This is our life. This is the way, and this is like, we may not realize, but our progress in the journey of bhakti is tremendous when we are actually spending time with the Bhagavatam and studying in depth. So please continue this. This is our, one of the 5 most powerful aspects of bhakti, as said by Rupa Goswami. So thank you so much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.